Welcome, everyone. I would like to call to order our board meeting for Thursday, September 26, 2024, actually board meeting and study session. Roll call, Erin, please.
Yes, Trustee Leon. Trustee Madhatel.
Here.
Trustee Chow.
Present.
Trustee Liu.
Here.
Trustee Vogel.
Here. Thank you. Board agenda approval. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
I'll
Thank you, Jerry.
second.
Thank you, Ava. Roll call vote, please, Erin.
Trustee Leon.
Aye.
Trustee Madhatel.
Aye.
Trustee Chow.
Aye.
Trustee Liu.
Aye.
Trustee Vogel.
Aye. Moving right into our board study session, student enrollment and class configuration. Superintendent Yao.
Happy to kick this off. So we do try to highlight during our study session some different items throughout the year. And a lot of times it is just information that maybe there's been questions on or comments or pieces brought forward. And so it is the start of the school year. We always do an enrollment count on, we call it the 10-day, but it's actually the 11th day. So we know what our enrollment numbers are, and that we would bring that tonight, share what our current numbers are, what some of our class configurations look like. I thought we would embed a little bit of information about our middle school electives, as this is our second year that we're offering electives to our 7th and 8th graders. And then some information about special education. So there may be some questions about wanting some further information, and I do think this is kind of that kickoff presentation. And then always happy to bring back some additional information to dig even deeper. I know that one thing that we always look at as Erin and Kristen work with the student assignment and the enrollment is we have contractual numbers that we try to keep our class sizes to, and then how do we fit that into the big scheme with our FTEs? And so they do work a lot of the magic there, and they'll talk a little bit about over the course of last year and then the next year, how we're trying to get down to the smaller size K3s, 22-1. And you'll see some of them that are, some of them that aren't yet, and we'll address those as well. So I'm going to turn it over to the masters, Erin and Kristen.
Thank you so much, Superintendent Yao, board trustees. We're happy to be back. We were with you last spring sharing our closing numbers, and we are here again presenting our opening numbers for the 24-25 school year. As Superintendent Yao mentioned, these student enrollment numbers are from August 29th, 2024, which is our 11th day of school. So as of that date, we had 13,480 students. The number always kind of fluctuates a little bit throughout the year. And then we have our official data capturing on CBEDS Day, which is at the end of October every year. So as you can tell, we're kind of pretty close across grade levels. You see, as the grades get into the primary, they're a little bit smaller than our 6th through 8th grade cohorts. And then TK is not quite yet at full implementation. The 25-26 year will be the full implementation of universal TK, where all 4-year-olds will be eligible to enroll. And then just last year, our CBEDS data showed that from this year to last year, we've only lost about 100 students. So in years from past experience, a loss of only 100 is pretty good. So going just a little bit deeper into our elementary schools, we have 8,600 TK through 5th grade students. Again, this is from August 29th. Last year, we had a little bit about 200 more students with our CBEDS data. So again, not a great loss, but still in a little bit of a decline. As you can see from across the elementary schools, we are hitting that pretty consistent average size. Some are a little bit under that 400, 500 range. And then Stockmeyer, we do see still as our largest elementary school with 831 students. As you can see, there's different colors representing each grade level band. And you may also notice that now we do have TK at all of our attendance area schools, which is new this year for every attendance area school to have a TK. And then we do have one alternative school, which is McAuliffe with a TK. So these charts represent just a little bit deeper dive into our elementary school numbers. So we have 351 elementary school classrooms. Of those, there are 105 upper grade classrooms. So that is 4th and 5th grade. All of those classrooms are at our new 29:1 student to teacher ratio. And then we have 249 TK through 3rd grade classes. In terms of combination classrooms throughout the district, and a general reminder, a combination classroom is made up of 2 different grade levels. We do try and average out the grade levels. That is the combination classroom. So for example, you may have a K1 classroom, you might have a 4-5 classroom. So across the district, we do have 16 combination classes. We have 11 of those in TK through 3rd, and we have 5 in our upper grade with 4th and 5th. Again, those 4th and 5th combination classes are at the new 29:1 student to teacher ratio. And then if we look a little bit closer, next year we are preparing to move down to our 22:1 student to teacher ratio in TK through 3rd. And we are slowly progressing down to that ratio. Right now, again, as of August 29th, we have 151 TK through 3rd grade classes that are currently at our current student to teacher ratio of 24:1. And then we do have some classrooms, 98 TK through 3rd grade classrooms, which are actually below that 24:1 ratio. So we are making a concerted effort to make sure we hit that 22:1 ratio for the 25-26 school year.
And I'll just add on this, effective in 2025, our TK classes, their new mandate will be a 10:1 ratio. So our TK classes will be at 20:1 because we'll have a teacher and an IA assistant in those classrooms as well. So we'll transition into that in 2025.
And then moving on to talk specifically about transitional kindergarten. This year, we have a total of 26.5 classes district-wide. This is a 4 classroom increase from last year. So, which is about average in terms of the rollout of universal TK throughout the school year. So we added roughly 4 classrooms at each grade as the expansion took. So each year there was approximately 2 to 3 months more worth of students who were eligible. And so we were able to add about 3 to 4 classrooms each year of TK students. So that's a total of 577 TK students. And again, this is as of August 29th. We have a number of attendance area schools now with 2 TK classes. Those are Collins, DeVargas, Dilworth, Eaton, Eisenhower, Garden Gate, Lincoln, Montclair, and West Valley. We have a small number of schools with 1 TK, which are Blue Hill, Nimitz, Sedgwick, and Stevens Creek. McAuliffe is in between 1 and 2 with 1.5 TK classes. And then we do have 1 school, our largest school, again, Stockholmeyer Elementary, which has 3 TK classes. So I would expect to see an additional growth in the area of TK next year when we see, again, full implementation and all 4-year-olds are eligible to enroll in TK next year. So switching over a little bit to open enrollment. So as you know, we made some adjustments last year based on the task force work in terms of open enrollment. This year will be our first year of, instead of having a living wait list, we will move to shift into an annual wait list for open enrollment. And then we did give some additional priorities for families who choose to open enroll to our larger schools. So students from large attendance area schools, which would be Stockholmeyer, Dilworth, and Lincoln, we did give them priority into other attendance area schools for open enrollment. This year we saw 16 students decide to open enroll from those larger schools, and they were granted that priority that was outlined by the task force. In February, when we held our alternative school open enrollment, there was more than 1,000 students who chose to open enroll. And then in April, for our attendance area open enrollment window, there were 260 students. And then we reopened that open enrollment window in June, and we saw an additional 278 students. On the right shows a graph of the makeup of our alternative schools. Again, this is a lottery system, so this makeup of our alternative schools is based merely on lottery. And so this is this year's just visualization of where neighborhood school students are going to our alternative schools. And now switching over to middle school. This year we have 4,647 6th through 8th grade students. As you can see, our 5 middle schools are getting pretty close in terms of size. We do have a small cohort of 6th through 8th grade students enrolled at McAuliffe. And our middle school numbers compared to our last year's CBEDS numbers were actually quite similar. We just lost a little less than 100 students. As you know, we've the Ed Services Department and our middle school teachers and administrators have been working to grow the electives program across all middle school sites. This table outlines currently enrolled students that are taking 2 elective courses for this school year. So you can see at CMS, 100% of students in grades 6 through 8 are taking 2 electives. At Hyde, 7th and 8th grade students, a little bit more than 80% are choosing to take 2 electives. At Kennedy, for the 7th and 8th grade, approximately a little bit less than 80%. At Lawson, about 80% in 7th and 8th grade choosing to take 2 electives. And at Miller, slightly higher in 7th and 8th choosing to take 2 electives at about 85, 88%. 6th grade electives, 2 electives in 6th grade for Hyde, Kennedy, Lawson, and Miller are only offered if that student is taking some type of support class. At Miller, that would also apply to students who are enrolled in the CLIP program. So that's why those numbers are lower than the 7th and 8th grade cohorts. This graph shows a visualization of the students who are currently enrolled in our special day classes. We have 233 students. Again, this was as of August 29th. And you can see here the breakdown of where those students are at attendance area schools. And then finally, we couldn't talk about student enrollment without talking about our teachers. This year, we have 373 elementary classroom teachers, 212 middle school teachers, 36 special day class teachers, 12 elementary music teachers, and 5 elementary PE teachers. It's important to note that with the funds from Prop 28, we were able to add 4 additional elementary school music teachers from last year to allow for all of our students to have access to music. And with that, I will take any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you, Erin. A lot of work to put this together. Really appreciate it. Questions? Satish, you're looking like you might have one.
Let's start with thanks, good work. I think report is very good. So I have 2-3 questions in general, but let me see what could be the best. One thing is based on this slide 2, right? Are you anticipating? I know it's too early to say that, but are you anticipating a decline in the enrollment in the coming year? Because if you see the middle schools, all are 1,500 average, right? So up till 5th, we have about 1400, right? So What's your view on?
So, and we will be bringing back our projection enrollments probably December, our second meeting in December, early January, as we get all of the information. And we try to update those as far as what we know about any housing developments that are coming in or any units that are being developed. So when we look at from last year's projections, we do experience a slight decline for the next 3 to 4 years. Getting this down around 13,000, a little below 13,000. Our new TKers coming in does help solve us to become a little bit more stable. And then we really do level off. So I think when you remember, it was 2-3 years ago when our projections were looking where we were projecting to drop down to about 11,000 at one point. That's no longer the picture. We do actually stabilize in about the year 2027, 2028. Which has really helped us as we're looking at trying to stabilize class sizes and stabilize schools. We kind of know where they are. And if you remember, we'll talk about it a little bit later when we talk about our task force. That will be one of their tasks that they look at too, is as the new housing developments come in, how do we ensure, or can we change the boundaries for those particular units? Right now, they fall in an attendance area, but we also have the ability to redesignate them to help us balance enrollment in some of our schools. So that was a very long answer for, we do decline slightly, but then we do stabilize right around 13,000.
Yeah, I think that long answer is important. Thank you for that. Okay, one more question I'll ask, then I'll wait for others. In general, the McAuliffe, right? So I know that it's less than 300. Also, middle school is 68. Is it like a lot of combo classes are happening there, or 68? How are we managing?
So McAuliffe, the whole composition of it, they do have 3 teachers, 6th, 7th, and 8th. They do, the 7th and 8th grade teachers share the 7th and 8th grade teachers, but that is just kind of the nature of a middle school, junior high type model, because you have students that are at different levels. They're coming in, they're sharing electives. It's probably one of the challenging to offer that full breadth of electives. And so this is a creative way to allow students to have a different choices for electives at all 3 of the grade levels. And 6th, 7th, and 8th have traditionally been smaller. You'll see a drop off when we show the history of McAuliffe. There may be, for a variety of reasons, after 5th grade, families may choose to go back to their home middle schools. And so we have, for many, many years, seen that number does decrease slightly through the pattern of our enrollment.
It's around the same 68-ish.
It's been that roughly
the 2 digit,
at least 5 for the last 5 years.
Thank you.
Next, anybody else have questions, Sylvia? And then Eva.
So thanks, Erin. This is really good information. I have a few questions. So on slide 6 with the open enrollment, I'm just curious about the April attendance area open enrollment with 260 students. And then after June, there's a reopening. So can you just help explain why there's a reopening, and does that mean that all 260 students who applied for open enrollment got into their alternative neighborhood school of choice, or is the 278 inclusive of kids from the 260 that didn't get into the school that they wanted? And how is all of that determined?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at it first, and then Kristen can add some additional details. So another change we made this year based on the task force work was listing out where there were actual spaces by school, by grade for open enrollment. So when the first window opened, based on our projections and based on our student roll-up numbers, there were certain grade levels at certain sites that were listed as available for open enrollment. After those windows were processed and after the students were placed who had chosen to go to alternate schools, we re-looked at the numbers again and determined, okay, where are there other areas where we could offer open enrollment? And some of those schools and grade levels were the same, some were not, some shifted.
And then I'll just add on. So the April attendance area, the 260, that covers all TK through 8th grade. I would say a lot of that is the middle schools. We do offer some spaces out there, but we don't offer out nearly as many as we do for the TK through 5, where we know we have a lot of openings. The 278, the after June reopening, that covers all of the schools again. So it's all 5 or all of the alternative schools, but then also the reopening. So some of those are students that may have forgotten to apply for open enrollment. Some of these may be students that just moved in and maybe in April and May, so they're late registrations. Some of them are actually siblings that just forgot that they needed to do open enrollment to get into alt schools. So it's a wide variety of students that apply after that June reopening.
And then does in that number, everybody who applied was able to get in, or are some of those 278 still on a wait list?
Some of those, all of them, all the numbers, the 1079, the 260, the 278, some of them still are on wait lists because some of them are for alt schools. And as we have living wait lists, obviously the first through the fifth grade already have quite a few students on it, but families still want to be able to apply. So not everybody will get in, but there is a good amount, especially in the attendance area schools, since we changed it to opening only the grades that we have openings for, adequate openings to add. Yep.
Thank you.
Of course.
I have a couple more, but I can, okay. So on slide slide 5, the TK slide. So a couple questions. The first one is the 5 schools with the 1 TK class. Is the goal to get all of those schools at 2 TK? And then I guess the second question connected to that is, if we have 577 TKers right now, and I know it's like a 3-month shift every year for the past couple years and then next year. So it's only 3 more months until next year, right? So if it's 577, what's the projection for how many additional 4-year-olds it'll be by next year? Because it'll be all 4-year-olds. And will that fit that 2 TK per school?
Sure. I know the board previously has talked about having the commitment of 2 classes at each grade level. So I think we would certainly take that and look at that as a goal. It will also depend on where the students live and where they register. Again, speaking to projections, we have that presented by the demographer later on in the school year, and they'll be able to present those TK numbers as well to you. But just kind of as a trend, as we've kind of added an additional 3 months, we've seen growth of about 3 classrooms each year, 3 to 4 classrooms each year, with each bucket of expansion as the as the years have progressed.
At a 20-1, 3 classes at like a.
So it would have, it was 24 to 1. Yeah.
I think just the other thing to add to that, one of our goals would be when we have those single TK classrooms, there is some facilities that is involved with our TK classes. And so it does benefit us to have 2 TK classrooms, a collaboration with the teachers. And so we would look at that. If we look at our past trends, 80 to 100 more TKers is about 3 to 4 classes, 5 classes at the smaller number. So that's been a kind of our pattern there as well. And the difference between our TK numbers and our kindergarten numbers is, remember, TK is optional for parents. And so that's where we see our TK numbers double by the time they get into kindergartens. For other families, they may be enrolling their students in our Cooper Doodle program or in other preschool programs, and then they elect to join the public school when they turn kindergarten age.
So it's not necessarily indicative of what that kindergarten class is going to be.
Correct. Our projections for kindergarten are still maintaining up at the higher number.
All right, thank you. I've got a couple more, but we can.
Okay, Ava?
Thank you. If we look at slide number 3, as we probably have noticed that the small school we have is McAuliffe, and I wonder what's the historical trend of the declining enrollment for like maybe the past 5 years for McAuliffe, in terms of, is it declining most rapidly, or maybe like the same pace as the other schools that we've been having?
And so I think when we look at the historical trend, and we will be continue to bring back information as we talk with our enrollment task forces, McAuliffe's decline is relevant relative to what our other schools have declined. we see all of our schools when we hit that year 2021, that was our biggest hit for all schools, coming out, going in, middle of the COVID, whichever way you want to term it. They experienced a significant decline, as did all of our schools.
I guess the thank you. The follow-up question for that is, since it's my understanding of most elementary schools, when you go beneath 400, then you start having like half classes, or are we doing anything or about the enrollment, or this is as low as it goes, or are we trying to change the program?
I do think that's an area that we will bring up as we go through the enrollment task force, when we talk about balancing enrollment. Because I do think that we continue to watch. We have smaller schools, that 2 classroom really was our commitment. And so I think that's important to maintain, because then you do have the collaboration, at least with one other teacher. And I do think that's really valuable as well. And we'll have conversations with McAuliffe as far as, what are some thoughts as, how can we bring more students in? What are some things that you may want to experiment with? So those conversations will be forthcoming as well. I will say, as we look at historically, out of our 4 alternative schools, McAuliffe has never been the largest alternative school. It always has been slightly below our other alternative schools. We actually capped it when we went through the whole school closures and consolidations, and said that we were capping our alternative schools at 4 classes at the upper grades.
Okay. And then I just have a point on slide. Which I think slide 5, when we're implementing TK, and I just wanted to clarify, Lindsay, when you were saying TK, like by all LEAs by 2025. So that includes the alternative schools don't have TK by 2025? Or because they're alternative, they don't?
I'll take this one. So when we began implementing the transitional kindergarten, one of the information pieces we had said is that our goal was to get them at the neighborhood schools. That's where we wanted to do. And we would do full implementation of PK and 25, 26, and then begin the conversation about alternative schools. We have started having conversations with these site principals. Last year, we did make the exception, and we added in the TK class at McAuliffe. Their enrollment allowed it. It didn't jeopardize the equitability of families being able to apply in. They had the space for it. And so we were able to begin the TK class there. The questions that we are asking and we'll begin to explore when we look at the possibility of TK at the alternative schools is, one, does the TK, which is a play-based learning, fit into the philosophy of what the alternative school is? Each alternative school has a different philosophy that's based on an interest of parents. After that, we would look at, is there space on the campus to expand TK? Because TK does come with requirements for bathrooms and playgrounds. And then is there the ability on the facility to accommodate that? So our plan is we'll be bringing that back as a conversation with you as a board, probably December, because we do need to make some decisions. But again, we had said we were focused on getting full implementation in before we focus on the alternative schools. Great question.
Thank you.
Okay, Eva?
I'll have more, but I'll wait.
Jerry?
All right. First of all, for the visualization, I know a lot of work goes into this. It's a lot of numbers here. This really makes it easy to absorb. Number of my questions been picked up, so maybe a couple of clarifications. If we go to slide 6, that 16 number from the large schools, I know when did the parents make that choice? Is that at that February, or is it just 16 overall throughout the whole process?
That would have been in April, because the priority is given to students from large schools to attendance area schools.
Got it. Okay, so that's the April cohort, that out of 16. Okay. And then on the right, I'm looking at the sort of the composition of the different alternative schools. And I see this sort of big gray, not gray, light purple blob that represents Dilworth. I guess I hadn't thought is that a new trend? Has it been like this since the campus closures, or was it before that? I hadn't that stuck in my mind that Dilworth was a large contributor to these alternative schools. So it's really a question about trend a little bit. Do you have that information off the top of your head?
I do not have it off the top of my head, but certainly we can look into that.
Sure, no problem. And then on slide 7, on the middle schools. So it looks like again, and maybe it's a sort of a visual thing, but it looks like from this that the grade composition across the 3 grades are pretty balanced then across the middle schools. And so is it fair to extrapolate from that the next couple of years, I know we have smaller elementary cohorts coming in, but for middle schools in the next few years, it should be relatively stable? Would that be a fair statement to make, or I shouldn't assume that?
Yeah, I mean, we'll share the projections again, at the, but just in comparison to last year, we're at roughly around that 100 students. So it's stabilizing.
Okay. All right.
And just as a reminder, that is one of the areas that our new task force, as we formed the new enrollment task force that last year's left off with, was to continue looking at middle schools and balancing enrollment and some different ideas for how that, specifically they had brought up about Hyde, concerned with the numbers. They're not significantly lower than any of the others, but that was one of their areas of focus.
Sounds good. I only have comments, so go on.
Okay, great. We'll just finish the questions. So I just have one, because the rest have been answered. And that's about the 6th grade electives. Are we still looking to provide 2 electives for 6th grade at some time in the future? Or where are we with that?
I know our ed services team is working on that, and I think that it will be brought back at a future meeting about the plan for middle school electives at the 6th grade
Oh,
level.
perfect. Okay, thank you.
So we have it scheduled at board advance in October. So we will be bringing back our plan, our timeline, and where we are with our implementing for the 6th graders. So
Good,
it's already scheduled.
good. Thank you. Okay, back around, Satish.
Yeah, I have only one question, the same slide. So, see, is it like the CMS? I don't remember, the trend. Is it reduced a little bit? Because Miller is kind of now having the highest number of students. So this year's it happened like that, or I was thinking, well, my impression has been that CMS has highest, then the other schools come in.
So I think if you're looking in terms of the 2 schools, the 2 biggest schools, right? You're looking at Cupertino and Miller.
CMS, yeah.
So if you're thinking of just attendance area schools, Cupertino is still one of our largest middle schools. We have to remember that at Miller, about 300 of those students, or a little bit less, are the CLIP students. So those are just making up a different composition of students from across the district. So still, Cupertino still would be the largest if we're considering just the students going to school there because they live in that attendance area.
So you said that about 300 CLIP students.
Roughly, yeah. I mean, a rough estimate. Yeah, probably actually a little bit less than that. I think they're maybe hovering around classes of 80 in each grade level.
Okay. That's okay.
Okay, Sylvia.
So slide 4, the combo classes, actually 16 is smaller than I thought it was going to be. So I'm actually pretty happy to see that number. And I know that that it's one of the goals to try to reduce the number of combo classes. I'm curious, as we look into, future years, do you anticipate that how will that work? How will we reduce the number of combo classes considering the projected enrollments?
Yeah, every year after we get the projections from our demographer, we take a look at those and take a look at our roll-up numbers for our current cohorts and start trying to kind of map out. One thing we do have for this coming year is that new 22-to-1 ratio. So whenever we are lowering that ratio, we may see an increase in combination classes, because we do need to meet that 22-to-1. That may occur, that may not. It will just kind of depend on our student numbers. It changes every year.
My other question got asked.
Oh, all right. Ava?
Thank you. Lindsay, I just want to say the graphics are great. I know it takes a lot of time to be able to convey numbers into something that's meaningful. Still on the combo classes, if we are on slide number 4, how many combo classes have we had in the past compared to last year? Is 16 considered higher or lower?
I did have last year's number. Just give me a second.
I guess in general, overall, like these numbers are great, but in terms of if we're wanting to see how we're doing compared to the past, maybe on some of the significant numbers that we could see the historical trend.
Sure, we can add that. Mhm.
And I will say, just in my tenure in the district, it has fluctuated every year. I believe at one year we were as low as 11, one year we were, I believe, as high as 24 and 25. And it really is just looking at some of the trends in the district, as we've lowered classes and declining enrollment, that did, I think, cause more combo classes. The last couple of years, we do try to take a conscious look at that. But if we're able to keep the combo classes, half of one grade, half of the other, if we have some of those anomalies where we have a higher number of one grade and a lower number, then we may be able to add an additional teacher, because to split a combo class, if we were to split those 16 combo classes and add another 16 teachers for it, there is a cost with that. So we're always trying to weigh that as well. So I would throw it out there that we will probably always have some combo classes in the district this size.
And my last question is on the slide number 9 on special day class. I think it's great that we have separate members for special day classes. Brings me to think about when we offer special education services, we're inclusive of also students who have IEPs that also utilizes our resources that may not be part of the special day class. And I've been hearing from last year from teachers that there is a high number of students needing resources at McAuliffe that is much higher ratio than the other schools, and it's putting strains on the resources in McAuliffe. So I was wondering if when we have a next study on special education, that we have the numbers looking at inclusive of all the special education classes, not only looking at the special day classes, but students receiving resources, services that we do offer, and seeing how we can provide those services to the students through the analysis of data and how much support that may be strained at one particular school more than the other. Thank you.
Sure.
I don't really.
Okay, I don't have any more questions either, so we can move to comments. Satish?
No, I just want to, I think, acknowledge again that, as everybody said, it's a great information. I think definitely I'll ask a few more questions later, maybe over mail or something, if I have specific on this, but with them a lot of data, and looking forward for the next year projection. I think that's important for us to see that, and especially with these changes in the ratio, the student ratio, I hope will be balanced also as part of. Thank you. That's it.
Sylvia?
I don't have any specific comments on it. I think, again, like similar to what Satish was saying, it'll be interesting to see what it looks like next year with all 4-year-olds. So I'll be curious to see. I'm curious how you guys are going to approach that, as student assignment department, and what are the things that you'll be looking at, and the changes that you're anticipating, and how the process works. So just looking forward to the next update.
Great, thank you. Ava?
No comments, thanks.
Jerry?
I actually have 2 questions, which I'll form in the, form of a request here. First is, I'm actually really, curious about the efficacy of some of these tactics we put in to help address enrollment balancing. And so I think this is a great snapshot of where we are today. And I love it if next time we came back, if we could do a bit of analysis on any sort of early evidence we have on how well the different tactics are working. So I think, some analysis on this. The other one is, I know one of the issues we've always had in the district is a geographic imbalance in enrollment. And so I think next time this comes back, it'd be great if there's a way we could group these schools into quadrants. Remember when we were talking about some of the school site issues earlier, and we had the 4 quadrants, just to sort of help me better see how that's progressing, how that enrollment picture is in a more geographic basis. So to ask, but otherwise, wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a couple of comments. I am concerned about the enrollment at McAuliffe. And I'm glad to hear that the staff at McAuliffe and the enrollment committee is going to take a look at that, because I'd like to see them grow a little bit so that they have at least 2 classes at each grade level, and just like to see how we can promote McAuliffe a little more and get that enrollment up a little bit. And my other comment is, I just have to get on my soapbox about combination classes. You guys have heard this before. There's no evidence that combination classes are in any way hurtful to kids. They do just fine. I've taught them for years. I was a principal of a school that was multi-age. I think combination classes are fine. I think they're hard on the teacher. I taught them for many years. It's a lot of work, but I think for kids, they're not a problem. So that's my soapbox. Thank you. Anything else on this topic?
There were no public comments.
Okay, great. Thank you. I always have to be reminded of that. Okay, it's 5:40 and we will reconvene at 6. So we'll take a break for 20 minutes. Okay, great.
Yeah. Bigger channel.
I know, I'm wondering, you may, if do you want to be there?
Welcome. We are reconvening our board meeting for tonight, and we just finished a study session with some very important information about enrollment. So that was nice to have. Today is Human Resource Professional Day. So shout out to Mike and his team in Human Resources here at the district, taking care of our people. Thank you. We have 2 students who are going to help us with the flag salute, and they are, I can't read my own writing, Mira O'Keefe and Akshara Nagarajan. Welcome, welcome. 2 students from Lawson Middle School.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. One of the exciting things we do at our board meetings is school presentations. And tonight our school presentation is from Lawson. So I'd like to introduce Lawson's principal, Erin Leary. I almost said it wrong. Welcome, Erin.
Hey there. Hi, everyone. It is our pleasure to be the first school to do a board presentation this school year. Today, I have brought with me some of my web leaders. So web has been around in CUSD since 1998. I know that because I started it at Miller in 1998. So Miller and Kennedy started web in 1998, and I was part of that. So getting to swing back around to middle school and see this program still in action has been extremely exciting. Web took a hit during COVID. We had a really, really hard time recovering the program after COVID. The first couple of years we came back, we sort of limped along. But this year we are back to full force. We have over 70 web leaders at Lawson this year. So it's a pretty amazing feat. We have our two web advisors, Janaki Nagarajan and Troy Hoffman. They're back there somewhere behind our kids. Yes. And they lead web for our students at Lawson. As most of you know, web is the program where we have our 8th grade students trained to welcome our 6th graders, and they do team building, social emotional learning all year long. This year, we have so many web leaders that we were able to implement squads, which is something new. So the first squad we have is our PBIS squad. So we have a group of web leaders who have broken away. They're still part of the overall web community, but their focus is just PBIS. And our PBIS squad members are Mira and Olivia, and they're going to come up in a minute and talk to you. We have a Color Clash lunch connection squad. So these students work with our overall team community building Color Clash year-long event at Lawson. We've got about 20 web leaders that are working with our Color Clash coordinator teacher, Suzanne Weinell. And so they're going to be talking about their portion. And then we have a composting squad. So that is a district initiative. We have composting bins at all of our sites, and they're helping us along with this process. So I'm going to welcome up Mira and Olivia for PBIS, Kashvi and Yuna for composting, and Jovi, Grace, and Akshara for our Color Clash and Web Lunch Group squad.
Hi, I'm Yuna Kim, and this is
Kashi Pradeep.
and we'll be talking about the PBIS program in Lawson. A student rounds the corner of the hall, running fast towards the lunch line, and bam, they fall down with a massive thud along with the person you have bumped into, who is peacefully walking to their friends. Fueled by wanting to be first in the lunch line, led to getting hurt and having others harmed as well. The issue of running throughout the hallways of Lawson has critically increased, as well as accidents in the school. This is why Lawson Middle School has introduced PBIS, Positive Behavioral Interventions and Supports, which is a program that strives to build up on students' best attitudes. This type of framework ensures the safe and positive environment that Lawson Middle School needs. The three main elements of the program are one of our most repeated proverbs: be safe, be kind, and be responsible. For example, a rule that goes into the be safe section: no running in the hallways, which can lead to an injury, like the previous example.
We've been in Lawson for 3 years now, and this is the first year that our school has enforced PBIS. Since we have enforced these rules, our school has gotten much more mindful of their actions. Students now seek a more safer journey throughout middle school. On top of this, enforcing PBIs has been a huge task in our school. One of the ways we are enforcing PBIS is by vote bucks. Vote bucks are these tokens that us students can receive from staff when we showcase something safe, kind, or responsible. And when we receive this, we could turn it into our office, and at the end of the week, 3 students from each grade will receive Lawson gear. This is just a fun way that we are enforcing PBIS. Another way we are enforcing PBIS is by the rules on the posters around our schools that are posted. These posters have information about PBIS and how an individual can keep our school a safe environment.
The program of PBIS is significant to Lawson because the system strives to ensure students' success in their academic life. Promoting positive behavior year around the campus with the motto, "Lead students for a smoother school life." Not only in school, the lesson that PBIS teaches follows people from their earliest years to their future careers. The end results of the program warrant a safer environment and a more engaged, tightened community.
Web also plays a very, very big role in PBIS. We make sure that rules are followed in school. Web's main job is to make sure that sixth graders feel welcome and safe. As we already know, Web has started our composting project. We could see the students are actually making the effort to compost. Us Web leaders are involved with multiple events that happen throughout this year. We are seemingly working to make PBIs run successfully to ensure a positive outcome, and I'm sure Web will receive many more projects that can help improve our school and create a safe, kind, and responsible environment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Akshara Nagarajan. Hi, I'm Grace Chang. And I'm Jovi Lin. So we're going to be talking a little bit about Web and Color Clash. So Web, where everybody belongs. Web was made to welcome students into our school, strengthen our community, and increase the bonds between the various grades. The transition from elementary school to middle school is an important milestone for many students as they struggle to get used to the independent, sometimes scary lifestyle of middle school. The challenging adjustment can overwhelm many new students who have the difficulties getting used to the academic level and the social environment. Web leaders are there to guide the sixth graders and help them adjust to the struggles of growing up. They provide a positive attitude, stable support system, and a respectful role model, showing the new students what the school expects of them. But why Web leaders are not just teachers? Teachers often struggle to identify the perspective of students. Being closer in age, Web leaders relate to students as they've already experienced the same situation recently. Eighth graders can also be a companion for a lonely student that needs a friend to help them adjust. Using their experience and past knowledge, they can guide the sixth graders into a successful first year. Personally, as an eighth grader at Lawson, I love an opportunity where I can use independence and responsibility. For the students that get into Web, it can help us gain experiences for high school. These experiences include leadership, responsibility, and confidence, which are all important for our transition into ninth grade.
Web leaders help in various activities, including preparing for school socials, planning Color Clash events, helping their Webbies, and participating in other sixth grade events such as Greek Olympics and Spring Field Day. But Web's main purpose is to help with the sixth grade orientation. This is where Web leaders get their first taste of leadership as they tour their groups around the schools while playing games that get them to loosen up and make new friends. This is important for both the Web leaders and the new students as they all build new experiences that help them to grow. This program also provides a helpful anti-bullying system for our school. As a student at Lawson, I struggle to confide in teachers with such things: bullying, friendship issues, and even relationship issues. These things are so much easier to discuss with friends and fellow peers. Web leaders have the responsibility of reporting negative behavior, creating a reliable space to talk, and paving a safe path for the sixth graders and all students at our school.
Color Clash, a Lawson tradition, is something that has recently grown dull in the past years. However, Web is confident that we can revive it due to the positive impact it has on our school and our spirit. Color Clash really brings us all together, in the gym, but also in spirit. It provides a great way to increase friendly competition, as many of us bigger over who will win and who really deserves to win. As students, a lot of us are incredibly competitive, especially if it means we could do fun things to win. This year, Color Clash will have monthly noontime activities, such as free throw shootouts, water balloon tosses, and other things that are run by Web and leadership. Within these events, students will get opportunities to not just win points for their color, but show off their skills in various topics. There are 4 colors: blue, green, red, and purple. Each one of these colors have various homeroom classes from each grade, so people in every grade can participate. In order for Lawson to continue this yearly spirit event, the leaders recognized the need for new blood. Through this idea came the Web Leaders. Web is an integral part of Color Clash. We are infusing it with fresh ideas, improving the old ones, and creating activities kids would actually want to attend. Color Clash Web Leaders will be contributing to every event, planning, organizing, and executing them. As students, we're creating a Kids Help Kids environment where we make our school the best it can be and build the community of all students. Our fresh ideas and new perspectives will guarantee that this year's Color Clash will be one to remember. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mira O'Keefe. And hi, I'm Olivia Lingmack. We're eighth grade web leaders at Lawson. And we will be talking about composting. So something we have had to come to terms with recently is that our generation will have to deal with all of the problems trash creates. This makes it our duty to help solve the problem. We've all experienced composting outside of school at things like parks and at home, but we really want to make it part of our school. It also becomes rich soil that we can use to supplement our gardens. And seeing all the good it puts out in the world, we want to practice it at our school. It is our mission as web leaders and a school to make our campus more eco-friendly. There are many ways to compost. One way is around the school, there are blue bins that have compostable bags in them for the food trash. Students can also compost their food scraps and containers, thanks to our new disposable and compostable hot lunch containers. Moving on to how we encourage composting. Composting is something new we're doing this year, and thankfully, some of our other web leaders made a PBIS video promoting the healthy habit of composting. Around the compost bins, there are signs that state what can be and can't be composted, because not everybody already knows what can or can't be composted. To reflect on composting's impact and improvements we can make in the future, students are struggling with emptying containers into the compost bins. We've come up with a few ways to combat this problem. Recycling bins would also be very helpful because it would help with the separation of trash. And also not all recycling things can be composted. We also hope to add more compost bins in the future because oftentimes people opt for the closer trash bin instead of the correct ones. Adding more bins will encourage more students to participate in this program. Composting is one of our school's biggest goals this year, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this will work out. Thank you.
We do have some videos we'll be sharing with EC and the board, just some kind of fun things that we've put together as a web group this year. So I'll email those all to you in the next couple of days. But that's our group. Here we are. We're looking forward to a great year. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. Would you bring your group and your teacher to the middle here so we can get a photo and the board will join you? Next item is communication from employee organizations. Erin, do we have anyone to speak tonight?
We do. We have CEA President Kate Lee.
Okay, welcome, Kate.
Good evening, Board, Superintendent Yao, our executive cabinet, our dedicated, excellent teachers, and our wonderful parent community and the greater community. I stand here tonight, a proud CUSD parent of 3 former CUSD students, just like so many of my fellow CUSD teachers who are also proud CUSD parents, many of whom are here tonight. We are an embedded, active part of the CUSD community. We are here because we love this community. We love our students. We love our parents. We love being a part of the AYSO teams, the birthday parties, and supporting our PTAs. For decades, we have loved the caring nature of our community and their acceptance and embrace of all our diverse cultures and beliefs. We have loved the respect and listening to different perspectives within our community. Our schools, the staff, students, and parents are our home away from home. For so many years, we have been held in the supportive arms of our community who recognize our dedication and selflessness in the education of their children. And we have deeply appreciated that. But that has shifted now. We have been dealing with some antagonistic behavior of some parents, replacing the kindness, trust, and collaborative nature of teachers and parents in the CUSD community. CUSD teachers are professionals in child development and the latest instructional pedagogy. We all continue our professional development throughout our careers to ensure we are using the latest research, evidence-based educational methods about what is appropriate in education based on developmental stages as well as environmental circumstances. Many of us have decades of experience working with students. That means thousands of students we have taught and supported over the years, as well as thousands of parents. Historically, CUSD has had the most supportive, cooperative, and positive relationships between teachers and parents. Somehow this has been co-opted by others who are not active parents outside of our school district, and by some CUSD parents who are somewhat misinformed about what teachers and our teachers union is all about. CEA and our CUSD teachers support all aspects of our students. We support the whole child. We support their unique needs and help them to develop as successful global citizens. Helping thousands of young children and teens and their families is our priority, and we are dedicated to it. We spend hours meeting with parents, helping them problem solve how to manage the different stages of growth and development their children are going through, and how to support their children to become the amazing, successful, unique beings they are and they can become. We, teachers, parents, CUSD staff, are all here for the children of our district and for each other. Let's find constructive ways to communicate our concerns together to build the best future for our students and families by ensuring a safe, inclusive space for all students and teachers, as well as parents. Tonight, we are asking the board to have a study session at the next board advance or one following to learn about the importance of affirming the rights and safety of LGBTQ teachers and students in our schools. There are many California laws as well as Ed Code that provide protections for LGBTQ students and teachers that the district should be abiding by and incorporate into a board policy. Please act on this to keep our students and teachers safe. The study session should include a presentation from the experts on these issues from the Santa Clara County Office of Education. We are asking for an establishment of a board policy that protects all LGBTQ teachers and students in our district. We are asking the board to provide accurate information to parents on the importance of providing these safe and inclusive spaces in our classrooms for all students and all teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Kate. Next, we have a public comment on items that are not on the agenda. Erin, how many public comments do we have tonight?
We have 35.
35 public comments. It is our policy as a board, our protocol, that we only allow 20 minutes for public comment at this time. And any comments that we don't hear at this time are moved to the end of the meeting. So board, what do you think about timing? We can't hear everyone in the 20 minutes. Shall we go with 2, 1?
I'd be good too.
Okay. All right. So we will give everyone 2 minutes to speak. We really want to hear from everyone. I know you have some important topics to discuss. So if you are repeating something that's already said, it would be helpful if you would minimize your comments in that regard. And if you can speak in less than 2 minutes to give more people a chance to speak at the beginning of the meeting, that would also be helpful. And if you don't have an opportunity to speak at the beginning and you're moved to the end and you don't want to stay, you can always email us, board@cusdk8.org. We're always happy to hear from everyone. Since we haven't reviewed public comment rules in a while, I want to just read our board policy. And indulge me. The governing board is committed to providing an orderly and safe learning environment in which students and adults feel comfortable, share the responsibility for maintaining a positive school climate, and take pride in their school, its achievements, and its environment during all district events and meetings. Our board policy 1313 promotes mutual respect, civility, and orderly conduct among district employees, parents, and the public. This policy is not intended to deprive any person of his or her right to freedom of expression, but only to maintain, to the extent possible and reasonable, a safe, harassment-free workplace for our students and staff. In the interest of presenting district employees as positive role models to the children of this district and as well as the community, the Cupertino Union School District encourages positive communication and discourages volatile, hostile, or aggressive actions. The district seeks public cooperation with this endeavor. One last comment before we start, and that is that because the items that you're going to discuss under public comment tonight are not agendized, the board will not respond. But if questions come up, someone from the staff will respond to your questions offline, outside of the meeting. So thank you all for being here. And with that, Erin, 2 minutes per speaker, starting now.
Our first speaker is Crystal Hamilton. If you could please come to the podium or raise your hand if you're joining virtually.
Good evening. I've been an educator and parent in CUSD for 15 years. One thing I've always appreciated is the consideration the district gives to parent voices and the commitment to ensuring all learners feel safe and comfortable in our classrooms. However, recent events at my son's school, Dilworth, have caused me to question if CUSD still holds this commitment. Last month, numerous Dilworth parents expressed concerns about sensitive gender identity topics being addressed in the TK classroom. Gender identity is not a part of the TK curriculum. It is, in fact, covered in the Human Growth and Development Unit at the middle school level. This unit is one that parents receive advance notice of, in addition to the opportunity to opt out. That is not the case in the recent events at Dilworth. Furthermore, staff have been informed that our personal and political beliefs are not allowed in the classroom, and that political activism is to take place outside of our work hours. And yet, political activism is taking place in room 22 at Dilworth. This teacher has referred to parents of their former employer who objected to their political agenda as a few disgruntled community members. More recently, the teacher has dismissed the objections of Dilworth parents to the blatant propaganda being pushed within the classroom walls. This dismissive attitude towards parents' concerns breaks the crucial trust that should exist between teachers and parents. I have long said that the education of a child requires a strong relationship between parent, teacher, and child. Leaving parents out of the loop and refusing to address their valid concerns destroys that. Is that how CUSD wants parents to feel? How many more parents need to pull their children out of our schools before we listen? This is about trust and transparency. I respectfully ask the board to mend this broken trust and bring back the CUSD we all know and love. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
The next speaker is Wei Chen. If you could come to the podium or raise your hand if joining virtually.
It's the mic, okay. Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Ms. Yao. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm a parent at Dilworth, and I'm here to express my deep concerns about what is happening in our TK classroom. Just to be super clear, all parents here support fostering an inclusive learning environment. We want our kids to learn to accept others and also be accepted. But I question the approach to achieve such a goal. At the age of 4, I believe our focus should be teaching children the importance of kindness, accepting differences, and building empathy towards others. Introducing topics like gender identity at this young age is not the effective way to build inclusivity. I've also noticed that the posters and the books in the classroom seem to represent only one form of diversity. Inclusivity should reflect many aspects of a person's identity, and I question why only one aspect is being emphasized while the others are overlooked. Can we truly call it inclusion if we limit the range of identities we represent to our children? I also understand and share the concerns of other parents regarding how these topics are discussed in the classroom. What kind of instructions are given when young children ask questions about these concepts? How can we ensure these discussions remain age appropriate? As parents, we deserve more clarity on how these sensitive topics are being handled in a way that is more suitable to the age of TK kids. Finally, I urge the board to take actions to improve the transparency between the school and the parents. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Queena Saw.
Hello everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here. I am a parent in CUSD. My son will turn 5 next month. He was enrolled in Dilworth TK. However, we made the difficult decision to enroll him recently. We've learned that many of other families in same class made similar decisions. Our concern is about the introduction of advanced gender identity, gender fluidity concept to young children. They're less than 5 years old, okay? For example, terms like Z or tree as pronouns were presented through poster or books in the classroom. At this young age, children are still developing their fundamental language skills and cognitive abilities. Introducing such advanced gender fluidity concept could create confusions rather than helping them learning. I think we all agree that young children are innocent and naturally inclusive already. They love interacting with each other, regardless genders or other differences. The educational material should represent broader inclusivity rather than only focus on genders terms as a teacher's personal preference. Also, as parents, we like to be properly informed or prepared on such topics. I like to ask the board to take actions to protect our TK children. Especially, we request clear guidance on the introduction of controversial content, transparency regarding what is being taught to our children, give parents opt-out options for those feel certain material is not appropriate for their children. My last point, parents raise such concern. I am a new parent for CUSD, right? We raise such concerns about age appropriate. Immediately, the teacher label us as anti-LGBTQ, right? This is very strange and sad. Let's just focus on the TK curriculum and age appropriate education. Please, thank you.
Thank you, Queena.
The next speaker is Ran Tao. Go ahead, Ran.
Hello. Hello. I'm also another concerning parent from Dilworth, and I'm here to share some of my thoughts. From parents' observation, we're now 6 weeks into the semester, and 1/3 of families have already unenrolled their kids from Dilworth's TK Room 22 because the out-curriculum personal agenda and gender identity are being pushed within the classroom in the name of inclusivity. But in reality, this is actually promoting exclusivity, being disrespectful to people from diverse cultural and religious backgrounds, and pushing those families away. This type of unenrollment also happened last year in Dilworth, and it happened with the San Jose Unified School District, while the same agenda was pushed by the same teacher. The number is still growing since the activism is still continuing. So this brings 2 questions. Why a public school funded by taxpayer money is pushing our own children out of public school. Living in the Bay Area is already expensive. Not everyone can afford private schools. We're entitled to public school education that stays neutral on controversial matters and respect people's diverse cultural and religious backgrounds. Also, out of all the age groups, why TK students are specifically being targeted? They are the most vulnerable and most innocent age group in school. They can be easily influenced, and teachers are influencers inside the classroom. I'd like to request the board take immediate action, put a stop to the ideology grooming that's causing huge disruption to school functioning. Remove the controversial age inappropriate content from the classroom. Let the kids be kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Ran.
Our next speaker is Susan Hansen.
Good evening, Superintendent Yao, Trustees Vogel, Madhathil, Liu, Liang, Chow, and community members. My name is Susan Hansen. I'm a 23rd year CUSD teacher, proud district parent of 2 children, Cupertino City Commissioner, and CEA Union Board Member, E-Board Member, Executive Board Member. Today, I want to recognize the incredible dedication of public school teachers. They're heroes shaping the future of our community and our country. These teachers create safe, inclusive environments and foster curiosity, critical thinking, and life skills. Many teachers, like myself, are parents also and board members also. They're deeply invested in the well-being of all children, working toward a more inclusive world, not driven by fear. Teachers also prepare students for the real world. We adapt constantly to new technologies and societal changes. Teachers are the backbone of our community, and we deserve our trust. They deserve our trust and support. However, it's concerning that some in our community have decided that they want to create disruptions to the safe and inclusive environments that our teachers create. They should know that we will not stand for attempts to make our schools less safe for teachers and students at CUSD, regardless of their race, sexuality, or gender identity. CUSD schools must be safe places for all. Public school teachers are the real experts driven by a vision of a brighter, more inclusive future for all students. We call on our board and superintendent to stand by all of our teachers and students and against these harmful disruptions. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Steve Greenfield.
Dear board members, superintendent, and assembled members of our stakeholders. My name is Steve Greenfield. I am CEA rep for Dilworth Elementary, a 5th grade teacher at Dilworth, a former parent and volunteer of both CUSD elementary and middle schools, and love volunteering right now. I wish to address the serious ongoing issue. The ignorance and open bigotry being presented as fact to this board is plain wrong. My colleague and friend was harassed and mentioned by name in a previous board meeting. As a result of that, he is still receiving hateful messages. CUSD must clearly support and protect our LGBTQ plus community. Please, I beg of you, tell this insignificant subset of bigots that CUSD does not support them or give credence to their hateful, slanderous bigotry. CUSD must put safety and emotional well-being of our students, staff, and volunteers first. We must protect that at all costs so that we do not become one of the national statistics. CUSD must stand up and prove our teachers and students matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Our next speaker is Xiaohu Yang. If you're joining virtually, please raise your hand. Go ahead. You should be able to unmute yourself and go ahead and speak.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Shaohua Yan, and I am a resident in CUSD. I am here to complain against a teacher from Dilworth Elementary School from room 22 to bring gender identity activism into the classroom. Multiple parents alerted our community that the teacher was enticing 4-year-old boys to wear pretty dresses against their will and without parental consent. Since then, I found proof on internet that the teachers with the teacher's own words for such activism and the intent to bring it into the classroom. On the website bonfire.com, the teacher stated the mission, quote, "No matter what others say, all kids deserve to know the simple truth. Boys can wear dresses," unquote. The teacher also clearly stated the intent to bring this into the classroom. Quote, This time, the proceeds will be used to purchase LGBTQ positive picture books for local classrooms, unquote. Quote, let the kids in your world see that, contrary to the belief of some, boys can wear dresses, unquote. The teacher does not respect parental consent and student individual cultural background. Instead, the teacher forced the activism on the innocent boys. Quote, some parents got upset when I said boys can wear dresses to my TK to second grade art students, unquote. Quote, my students have a right to know the truth, so I have continued to ensure my pedagogy is gender inclusive, regardless of the opinions of a few disgruntled community members. In summary, these are the teacher's own words of activism and intent to bring into the classroom against parents and children's will. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Long Jiao.
Good evening, board members and staff. My name is Lang Jiao, and I'm running for the CUSD board. I want to remind everyone of the social contract between our residents and the school district. Residents pay their taxes, and the district provides quality education. It's that simple. Residents are the bosses of the district. Our board members are elected to ensure this contract is upheld. Recently, some families have unenrolled their children from CUSD, and surprisingly, no exit surveys were conducted. This is a missed opportunity for improvement. I urge the district to send exit surveys to these families to gather feedback and better serve our community. Additionally, I heard about the petition and which is that mentions the curriculum integrity and the adoption of BP 6144, Introduction on Controversial Issues. I urge the board to start the conversation about the curriculum integrity immediately and adopt BP 6144 without delay, which is actually already adopted by the Fremont Union High School District. Thank you for your time and the consideration.
Thank you, Long.
The next speaker is Solange Rahmeh.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us and for listening to us. I'm here to share a very small story about my brother. My brother is a hematologist oncologist with an MD PhD from a very well-known institute in Manhattan in New York. One day, a mom came to him and she told him, I have a feeling that my son is not doing okay. I went to many doctors, and all of them, they said that your son is okay, and they did all the tests, and all of them, they said, your son is doing okay. I still remember the answer of my brother when he said to me, at that moment, I forgot all the 17 years of education, and I listened to the mom intuition, because nobody can know better than a mom and better than the parents who is the best for their kids. The moral of the story, yes, just to tell you that he did 3 tests and he discovered a very rare case of leukemia. The moral of this story is no one can know better than the moms and the parents what is the best for their kids. When we run to you the first time, you were our only hope. Each one of you. And I came here today to tell you, I still trust you. I still trust that you are our only hope. We are not against the LGBTQ community as they are labeling us. No. Personally, I do have a lot of friends and they are so successful in the community. Doctors, engineers, financial people. Our main concern is not the community, it's what happens in the classroom.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Our next speaker is Wanchi So. Go ahead, Wanchi.
Hi, my name is Wanchi So, and I am a CUSD parent with 4 children aged 6, 8, 10, and 11. We have been actively involved in the Dilworth Elementary School for the past 6 years, and we love Dilworth. Sadly, we have decided to unenroll our 2 youngest children from Dilworth's 1st and 3rd grade classes because of the recent incidents in Dilworth's TK Room 22, where fluid gender identities were being exposed to TK children. I am concerned that sensitive topics such as fluid gender identities requiring a high level of student maturity are being exposed to children who are not mature enough to take them on. I believe fluid gender identity is not a topic suitable for TK through 5th grade elementary school age students. Just as in the case of 5th grade human development sexual education curriculum, I really appreciate that CUSD requires schools to offer parents transparency and the chance to preview the curriculum, provide parental consent, and the option to opt out so that parents can make the most informed decision best suited for their children. I call on the CUSD board members to implement policies to support parents with 3 requests. 1, provide transparent age-appropriate curriculum for our TK and elementary school students. 2, provide parental consent for any sensitive materials included in curriculum. And 3, the option to opt out of these sensitive materials in classes with parents' choices. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And time-wise, I believe this will put us at our final speaker for the 20 minutes.
All right.
So Jeffy Kalasa. Jeffy, if you are joining. Oh.
I was in the back.
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Good evening. I'd like to share that I was lucky enough to have 2 gay teachers in elementary school. In addition to being amazing educators, I think their experience of having been a young person and finding the courage to be true to themselves shaped how they showed up for us in the classroom in such a positive way. It meant they treated each of us students with so much compassion and dignity. Their kindness and belief in me made a huge impact on my life. It makes me sick today to think of parents trying to prevent their kids from having such a positive and inclusive educational experience. The California Department of Ed released the Preschool Learning Foundation in 2008. Under Foundation 3.3, which is fairness and respect, the guideline gives an example that by age 4, with the right modeling of kindness and caring, a child should be able to come to the defense of a boy who is teased for having their nails painted, quote unquote, like a girl. How telling that guidelines created by caring child development experts would cause right-wing activists to freak out. It's heartbreaking, but not surprising, that where recent anti-trans legislation has been passed, there's been an increase in suicide among young trans students. The Moms for Liberty members and parents who agree with them tonight should go home and look deeply into the mirror to see if they can love their kids, including their gay kids and kids who might be in the closet, instead of causing more suffering. CUSD needs to do the obvious right thing to firmly say that they have the backs of their LGBTQ students and teachers and that they are safe here. Thank you.
Thank you. That ends our public comment for now. We will resume public comment again, 2-minute speakers at the end of the meeting. Thank you so much all for being here. Superintendent's report. Superintendent Yao.
Yeah, thank you for that. I actually want to, while I have community and board and our teachers' attention, we actually have another concern that I wanted to bring and rise up. We are seeing an increase in vandalism and graffiti across our schools, across our district. And these are senseless and unnecessary, and they really are taking time and resources away from our students. It's taking the money for our staff to go out there and fix. We're losing student devices. What we're finding is oftentimes this vandalism and graffiti is done by other students, high school students. And so it really is our call and our plea to our community that we band together, because this is just costing the district and it's completely taking away from students, and it's senseless and needs to stop. And it's not what our community stands for, and we know it's not what our school district stands for. So just wanted to offer that plea up to everybody out there that we can help stop that incident from increasing. I will end my report on a more positive. On Monday, we were announced and identified that our Miller Middle School is one of the National Blue Ribbon schools. It's one of 356 schools throughout the entire United States. That's elementary all the way through high school. So we are extremely proud of the work that our Miller students and staff are doing. We will have an opportunity to go to Washington, D.C. Principal and a staff member will be joining me, and we'll be receiving the recognition and award. And again, I just think it speaks volume of the work and the collaboration that comes together at a school with staff, students, parents, and the entire community. So definitely proud of our staff there. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Superintendent Yao. Information. Our information item tonight is the Enrollment Task Force Committee. Superintendent Yao,
I am kicking us off on this. So this is just a quick information item. I also have Leslie Maines, who's my co-facilitator in the last 2 years for the task force. If you remember, we brought together an enrollment task force in the 2022 school year. We had asked our members at that time to have a 2-year commitment. We can get our present, thank you. A 2-year commitment, and that ended last spring. During that course of the time, they did bring several recommendations. We did do some modifications, adjustment to our policies. Erin and her team had shared that earlier tonight. And so at the conclusion of the 2-year, we did ask any of our members who wanted to return, and then we knew that we had some vacancies. And so we went back out, and we just wanted to give a quick update on the task force. Next slide. So this was our original purpose and intent as we looked out for our task force. When we sent out the applications, their focus really was about trying to increase parent choice in school selection, flexible attendance boundaries, and balancing enrollment that had the least negative impact on the district as we were going through declining enrollment. As we sent out applications this year, we did add another piece to the to perhaps one of their focus, and that was examining alternative school programs, processes, and enrollment. Right now, Leslie will be sharing with us, we will be sharing when we bring an update back to the task force. They had actually left off with some tasks that we brought back to the board last year. And so their initial focus will be looking at the middle schools and balancing enrollment. So I can't see that, it's too far away from me. So let me look at my screen. So again, we are asking our applicants to commit for 2 years. So they would commit for the 2024 through 2026 school year. Our focus was having a broad representation from across the entire district. And as much as possible to have all of our schools represented, taking into consideration those that were already on the task force and those new applicants coming in. And so we, again, wanted community members, which we had. We wanted parents, which we had. We have staff, which we have. And this year we will have 22 participants. Our original, when we started in 2022, we had focused, we said we wanted about a group of 20 to 22. We actually ended up with a little bit smaller group in the 22 through 24. And so I think this is that ideal size. We started making the applications available. They went out from August 21st through September 6th. After that, as staff, we sat down and we looked at all of the applicants. And again, keeping consideration that we wanted to have that vast diversity in from our district. So we are bringing back tonight our final selections to join us for the 24th through 2026 task force. Our first meeting is scheduled for October 1st, which is next week. I'd like to introduce Leslie Maines. She will be facilitating. Most of you know Leslie. She's retired and everything in the district and immensely missed, but we're happy to have her back helping with the running of the task force. So she's going to talk a little bit about the application pool and the selection.
Yeah, so I'm excited to come back and help with the enrollment task force again.
We actually had 37 applications, which was more than our first time around, which was super exciting. We had representatives from almost all schools. Out of our 22 to 24, that 2-year commitment, 8 of them have asked to return. And so we told them that means you're going to be with us for 4 years. And they said, absolutely, they're up to the task. So that's super exciting. We are going to be welcoming next week 14 additional members. We have 22 school represented, but we have, as you know, we have 23 schools. So Lawson Middle School did not have anyone that applied, either a neighborhood family or a family that had open enrolled. Stocklemeyer, we have no neighborhood, a family that child attends Stocklemeyer, but we had applicants of families that lived in the Stocklemeyer neighborhood. So Stocklemeyer is sort of represented as a community. It is not represented as a school. What we did the first year when we started is we did not have representation from all of our areas. And so we did go back out to during our second year of our 2-year commitment. We asked our task force whether or not we wanted to go out and bring another group on during our second year, because our group decreased a little bit and they wanted to stay as is. So this is our opportunity to bring a handful of folks on board. So the 14 new members. And then the other thing that's exciting is we do have our educational partner groups represented. We have current parents, we have current staff members, we have former parents, former staff members, and then we have community members. So we're looking forward to meeting the new individuals. So Stacy and I co-facilitate. Sandy Madeline serves as our administrative staff secretary. So she organizes and does the communication for us. And then Kristen Fruta, who you chatted with earlier today, is manager from student assignment, is part of that group because so many of the questions are related to enrollment or boundaries, et cetera, et cetera. And she is the true historian and is able to pull up the data in a moment's notice. So here are 22 members of the group. The individuals with the asterisks are returning, and then everyone else is new. And so we are just super excited. As Stacy shared, we will have 5 meetings. October 1st is our first meeting. We hope to make sure that our new members have a lot of information when they come in. We will actually provide them with access to the presentations that we've presented to you every year, but the past presentations, so that between the first and second meeting, they can do a little bit of homework. And as Stacy said, our first meeting, we will start having a conversation about middle school enrollment and some of the direction that the board had given us as considerations at your one of your meetings. I think it was in May of last year. So, thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Do any comments or questions from the board? Satish and then Jerry?
Yeah, I could, just one question. Anything significantly different? I know that we have the new purpose and everything, but anything addition that we are looking specifically from, or what we could not achieve in the last 2 years?
So the focus still continues to be the same. So this group will continue the work that ended at the last year, but oftentimes morphed out of it as it did last year during conversations. The task force may came up with some questions or some considerations. So we'll be bringing back an update to you after every one of the task force, and possibly it could be a question from them as, could we explore this, or had we thought about that? So that's kind of the excitement we're looking forward to. I think next week is, a new group, a new set of ideas, a new set of eyes on everything. We'll actually be sharing with them the same presentation that we shared earlier tonight as kind of a kickoff for them. And then, as Leslie said, we'll probably be giving them some homework to really bring them up to speed on the district so they can have those conversations.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, now it's good to see you. We see we've gotten much more popular since you retired. 2 questions. One, earlier you talked about, we're still missing some representation from a few schools. Is our process open for, are we continuing to recruit, or are we sort of closing the committee membership?
So we intend to do the same process we did last year. We'll go to the board, or excuse me, to the committee when we meet with them, and we'll ask them, would you like us to solicit and see if we could fill these 2 schools, or are we comfortable with the group we have and kind of leave it to them?
Okay, that makes sense. Second question is, earlier Superintendent Yao talked about middle school enrollment as being a potential topic. I didn't know if you had anything else that was teed up that you could share as a preview right now. I totally understand it's up to the committee, but if we're seating them with anything, I'd love to hear about it if there's anything that can be shared right now.
I think just when we had finished at the end of last year, we had brought back, I believe there were 6 different areas, and 3 of them were determined that more staff was going to follow up on. I'm forgetting what it's called, the corner about the attendance. We were talking about the high school, and then the task really that was given back for the task force. One specifically was they were interested in Heinz enrollment pattern. There was some interest in exploring the concept of alternative school at a middle school level. And I'm drawing a blank on what the third one was, balancing enrollment. I think
that was it.
Great, thank you. Thanks.
Ava?
No questions, just comment.
Sylvia?
No questions.
I have no questions, so let's go to comments. Ava?
Oh, question, not question, comment. I'm really looking forward to hearing what the committee comes up with. Last year with the short few meetings that they had, I think last year was like 4 meetings or 5. There was a lot of work done. So I definitely appreciate the time that the community has put together for the enrollment task force, and that I welcome those who are new to the committee. We appreciate your feedback as a community member, and that we have ever-changing things. And I'm hoping and being hopeful that our community continues to grow, and in terms of population, that we have families coming back, and that our enrollment task force has more positive things to work on. So thank you.
Any other comments?
So I'll just say thank you, Leslie, for taking the lead on this again this year. I want to echo Jerry's point about trying to get representation from all the schools, trying to work towards that. I know sometimes you have to tap people on the shoulder to say, hey, will you consider doing this, rather than kind of passively putting it out there. So I would definitely like that, but I love that there's 22 schools represented. That's a huge difference from last year. So great job on that recruitment process. And then just thank you to all the committee members. I mean, this is a big time commitment. And so thank you to every parent and staff and former parents and staff who are stepping into this role.
Any other comments? Thank you, Leslie, and thank you to those who have served and left, and to those who are continuing. That's awesome, and welcome to the new people. So always like to hear what's going on with the enrollment task force. Thank you very much. Is there any public comment?
No, there are not.
Okay, thank you. Discussion items, solar installation project. Superintendent?
So we are excited to bring back an update where we are with our solar installation. If you recall, we began in different phases. So we had 3 different phases and schools broken down into that. We are just about finished with phase 1, going to start on to phase 2. And we wanted to bring back that update to you, as well as we are now ready in October at some point. We will be making our EV stations live, and we wanted to have just a conversation with you about what does that look like, and what are those parameters that we want to set. So we do have a recommendation from the staff, but I certainly want the feedback from the board where we'd like to go with that. So I'm going to turn over to Chris.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome tonight. As Stacey mentioned, I think we are excited right now because we have started this journey down the road to bring solar energy and meeting our community's our community's needs in terms of energy conservation. So tonight I'll briefly go through an update where we are with the solar panel installation, but the majority of the focus tonight will get some guidance from the board as far as needing some parameters as far as how we're going to operate these EV charging stations. I'll get a little bit more into detail about that, but first and foremost, as Stacey mentioned, we're about a third of the way through all of our campuses. We had the benefit of starting these programs just after school got out last year. And so for the most part, all of the major work has been done right now, from structural to the electrical stuff. Now we're at that point at these sites here. Not all these sites have EV charging stations. As you recall, we shared with the board that unfortunately, not all of our sites have all of the electrical full capacities to accommodate EV charging stations. So we do have some schools that don't have them. Of the schools that have them, they are getting ready to be put back online. And so later I want to talk about just some of those parameters, but exciting. And as Stacy mentioned, we are in the process right now of the group 2 schools. So the group 2 schools right now are Miller, Muir, Murdoch Portal, Stevens Creek, and West Valley. West Valley is kind of tailing on the end there. And then the group 3s, as I mentioned to the board, probably won't start until sometime late December, early January. Those projects are still going through the process of getting approvals from the state. So those will go into next year and hopefully be done before next summer. So that's the exciting part about that. I just want to mention about that, talk about EV charging stations. So just on this graph here, I just want to remind everybody, we are in the middle of 4 projects right now, all towards meeting our energy conservation board policy 3510. We have asked the board to allow us to do some LED lighting upgrades. So in the middle of that, we're doing the solar panels, and we are hoping to get going on the electric buses as well down the road. So these are the 4 things that we're working on right now, but tonight I want to just focus on the EV charging stations. And as I had asked, we do need to set up some sort of a protocol and give us some guidance in terms of how we want to do that. So EV charging stations. So those of us that may have an EV card now may be familiar with some of these services. This one here is really actually in our current area right now, ChargePoint. So we are going to subscribe to ChargePoint. This is a third-party service. They will allow us to use their software and then set up all of our EV charging stations for consumption, whether it's for staff or the public. So interesting, I was looking at the map in terms of where the EV charging stations are. There are quite a few in Cupertino, but really nothing unless you're closer to El Camino on the north side of 280. So we have schools over there. So my sense is we'll be able to fill in some of the gap here with these EV charging stations in the community. But let me start the conversation here about these EV charging protocols. So just first and foremost, we're trying to balance concerns. We have heard from some folks in the community that when they had heard that the EV charging stations were coming into the schools, that some of them were very concerned about I hate to use the word, who might come and charge their cars at our campuses in the middle of the night. And so Stacey and I met with the community, and we certainly had gotten some feedback from them in terms of that. So part of this exercise here is making sure that we kind of take into consideration those concerns, because it's a question of, is this only usage during the school day? When our staff are at school, they have the ability to charge their cars. Is there also an appetite to offer up EV charging outside the school day? So that's after school hours, weekends, throughout the summer. So we want to look at those in terms of trying to balancing those concerns. Another point that we need to take a look at is the charging fees. So obviously, we have a cost that we have to incur. That's what PG&E is going to charge us kilowatt. But our interest would be is to, provide a benefit both to our staff as well as the community. And so from the standpoint of our employees, our interest would be is to provide them an opportunity to charge their vehicles at a reduced cost compared to the market rate. And it would more or less be kind of what our cost is. So we're hoping to just charge to our employees whatever our cost is. Our intent is not to make anything off of that. And then we would have a separate community rate. So that would allow us to cover the cost that way. As I mentioned, there are time limits with ChargePoint. We have the ability to control the time and use. So we do need to take into consideration, how many how many days during the week we want to allow people to charge, and the amount of hours in a given day. And the last thing I want to hit here is, like, as well, owning an electrical vehicle. When you go to these charging stations, you do have to share the electrical charging stations with other people. So we do need to make sure that people have an understanding in terms of what the expectations are, as far as not parking in these spaces all day and monopolizing the EV charger, so that others won't have the ability to do that. And obviously, we're going to be losing 1 or 2 parking spots depending upon the site, but there'll be a temptation for people that don't have an electric vehicle parking in those designated stalls for EV charging. So we just want to be very clear as far as what those parking expectations are. And then, really kind of going back to tonight, I think staff would like to maybe make a recommendation here where we are looking at balancing the needs of our staff, our community, as well as the district. And so the idea would be here is that, as I said earlier, our staff would be able to purchase electricity at the district's cost, which is a benefit. Our community would be able to use the EV charging stations outside of the school day. They would charge whatever the current market rate is. But then for the understanding of some of those concerns that Stacy and I heard, we would like to right now start with limiting how much time really those EV chargers are really kind of open. So they won't be right now going 24/7. They'll be going from dawn to dusk, and they would be going 7 days a week. So that's our recommendation. I'll see if, I don't know, Stacy, you want to add anything?
We did do some checking around with what other districts do, and that we're comparable to them as far as giving the employee discount rate. Many of the districts have established solar panels, EV, and they do run 24/7. One of our thoughts was, because this is new into our communities, and we're still rolling out, we still have our other 2 phases to complete, is if we do the dawn to dusk, we're always going to come back when we are in phase 3 and give an update, and we can reevaluate and have that conversation again. But thought this might be a way to roll out as well. The other piece that Chris didn't touch on it, but we have had some feedback on, is just the brightness of the lights on the solar panels. And we do have the ability to control that brightness as well. So again, they're all just going live right now. So we're really trying to see what is that brightness. Again, these are panels that are sitting in residential areas, and we just want to recognize, as our community has brought some of those questions and comments up, we try to address them.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments from the board? Satish?
Yes, I'm the first one.
Of course.
Thank you, and great to see this actually moving. Actually, it's been creating, and I think we had a lot of discussion last year on this. Happy that it's moving the right way. I think couple of questions on this. I know that we are still working on this, but is there a time, like, I know during the session, the school session, is public would be able to access that? That's number one. Or it's only for the staff during that time, EV charging?
Well, I mean, we could determine that. I would imagine we would want to just allow staff during the school day, because they're going to be parked there the majority of the time, and allow them to charge and not open it up to the general public at that time.
So how do you, my question is, it's a public place. How do you ensure that that is the case? Because if there is an empty space.
No, great question.
Yeah, I can go plug in, right? So kind of, yeah.
Well, because of the programming, you have to set up an account. So all of our employees would be able to set up their account, and giving them the ability and priority to plug in and use the account to charge. And the window for the community use, the community as well have to get their own accounts. So we could set it up where the community can't access the charge accounts during the school day. So that's how we would control during the day, dedicated only to staff. And then after hours and the weekends, it could be open to anyone, and staff too. It could be open for staff on the weekend too.
And the second question is, I know that you have taken some feedback and you had some community reach out. So what kind of changes we implemented after that, or anything significantly made based on the feedback what we got?
I think this is one of the adjustments that we made based on the feedback. There was a lot of concern with the EV stations being operable overnight during the nighttime. That was probably one of the most pressing concerns, is not sure who would be utilizing those during the off hours. And so that is one piece we came back and looked at and thought maybe we could do a rollout of it because it is new. The other feedback that we did get was concern of the trees being taken down and the reassurance that we'll be replanting trees and, actually using it as a positive because we could do some beautification and, you go to other areas and there's the boxes are painted and you can really engage in the community and make it even better. So our commitment back to the group, that we met with a couple of weeks ago is we'll go back out and meet with the group after the panels are completed, after the EV stations are up and get any feedback back from them again.
Thank you.
Eva?
Yes, question. Chris, listening to what you were saying with the community feedback, have we looked into the districts or areas that have charging stations near us or within our district, if they've had any incidences in the middle of the night? And if we haven't, can we look into that?
I think we can. I have not asked. We know Fremont Union High School District does have EV charging stations. I did hear that some of them were easily accessible and some that are actually behind their fences. And so those are some of the things that they had shared with me, but I haven't heard yet about any threats of vandalism and things like that. I don't.
And my second question, if it's okay, is my understanding of how the charging of these stations is that the price varies based on the demand of electricity, based on the time of the day. And I think while traveling, I rented a electric vehicle and used it, and the cheapest time of the day was like in the middle of the night. Is that still consistent in terms of like how we're going to have like a charge plan also based on like the demand of electricity?
That is something too that we have the ability to have a variable rate during the day that is within the ability to control, but we haven't gotten that. We will be working with Engie. They will help us get those rates. We could either have a fixed rate that's applied the entire time, dawn to dusk, 7 days a week, or have some sort of variable rate where there's a different rate at nighttime versus daytime. So we haven't gotten that far yet, but there is a possibility.
Thank you for your response. And that's all for the questions. The rest are comments.
Okay, any other questions? No. Okay, comments, Eva?
Oh, okay. Moving on to comments. I really do appreciate the map that you put in on like how many and how many of the charge stations there are in our area. I do see this as an opportunity to provide charge stations that are possibly in areas to our community that there aren't any that's nearby. I live in an area where I'm next to the superchargers in Target, and there's always people just hanging out in their cars and doing their own thing. There hasn't been, in my experience, when I walk by and go my evening walks, it's safe in my experiences. I do want to move and consider, after doing some research, that we make these charge stations to be available 24/7, especially if we want to reserve the areas during the school day for our employees to use them as a priority during the school day, which doesn't leave very much for the community hours. So that's where I want to look into after getting some research back. But I think it's a great idea. Thank you for doing this, and that we are becoming more green. We are also saving electricity and money as well, and resources for our community. Thank you.
Any other comments? Sylvia?
So first of all, just thanks, Chris, for the whole project. I'm really excited to see the progress on this. Not just, that we're going green and that we've got these energy cost savings, but also being able to provide this benefit for our staff. And I would love to get the students to come and do a presentation on what they're learning, because I know they're doing this integrated curriculum with NG. So regarding the EV charging, I like the proposal that we're doing market rate for the community and discount for the employees, basically at cost, whatever that cost is, whether it's fluctuating during the day. It makes sense to me that we would give our employees the opportunity to just get it at cost and get that discount, but then just, keep it at market rate, because at this point, the point isn't for us to make revenue on this. It's really just, it is, as Ava mentioned, like a community benefit. And so I like that we can prioritize staff usage during the day. That's great that we can actually control that. I didn't know that that was possible, so that's fantastic. Regarding 24/7 versus dawn to dusk, I think we do need to acknowledge that, there are some concerns from some of our neighborhoods about having it on 24/7. And so right now I like the proposal of dawn to dusk. And I like the idea of, maybe we're just rolling this out right now. So I don't think there's any reason why we can't reevaluate this after we've had a chance to test it out for a little bit and see how it goes. Knowing that I actually polled a bunch of other districts as well, and just by now, because a lot of the other districts that are doing this are doing it 24/7. The high school's doing it 24/7, but their parking lots tend to be more, a little bit more separated from where the houses are, where the residents are. And so I just want to be mindful of that. I also want to acknowledge that, some of our neighbors at the elementary schools were caught off guard when we started construction. And I think, for the next phase that we're doing that starts in December or October, if we can be more proactive about letting the neighbors know, maybe just, whoever's on those streets right directly across from where that construction's happening, if we can, post notices on their doors or something like that, because we know that we're able to send it to our community and our parents, but we don't always catch the people who aren't parents. And so if we can make a concerted effort to do that, I think I'd like for us to do that. And then specifically looking at Stockholmeyer, I know one of the concerns was kind of the obstruction of view and kind of, it would be nice if we can, I know that we were able to do that town hall with them, and one of the concerns they brought up was an opportunity for beautification, maybe painting I don't know if you can paint solar panels, but probably not, but whatever that is, maybe bushes or plants or flowers or trees or however that works. I'll let, landscapers figure out what that is, but definitely being able to go back to our communities where those constructions are happening and getting input, getting feedback. So I want to make sure that we're integrating that into the process as we move forward.
Good.
Yep, that's it.
Satish, comments? Jerry, comments?
Yeah, I support the staff recommendation. It's well thought out. I do wonder if we should be, about the whole 24/7, but I think the proposal for let's just go with this for now and let's collect usage data. So when we're at phase 3, let's look at the usage data again. And then I think referring to a point that I think Satish brought up earlier, just making sure that the charging spaces are available for staff during the normal hours. I know there's I guess it self-enforces, I suppose. No one's going to park there and they can't charge. So I guess I take care of itself, but I just want to make sure we do have that for staff. But otherwise, I'm really happy with this. Thank you for the thought that went into it.
I agree. I support the staff recommendation. I think regarding the dawn to dusk, after we've done it for a while, I don't know what a while looks like, but it would be nice to then go back to the community to see, kind of assess how it's doing for them before we extend the hours. I would love to extend the hours at some point, but I think we need to partner with our community on making that decision. So no other comments from us. Do we have any public comment, Erin?
We do. We have one comment.
Okay.
Cease Raj, if you could raise your hand or come to the podium. Sheesh Raj. If you're joining virtually, please raise your hand. I do not see our speaker.
Okay, thank you. And moving on to action, adoption of resolution 242502, sufficiency of instructional materials. We need a motion.
I move.
Thank you. Ava, a second. Sylvia, thank you. Any presentation, any
No
discussion?
presentation, just a reminder that this is under education code. It requires us annually to bring this forward, and it is notification that all students have been provided with textbooks and instructional materials. And so it is something that we do each year under education.
Questions, comments? Public comment?
No, they're not.
Okay, so we need a roll call vote.
Trustee Leon. Trustee Manhattan.
Aye.
Trustee Chow.
Aye.
Trustee Lu.
Aye.
Trustee Vogel.
Aye. We have one consent item. Is there a motion?
Point of order, 7.2.
Did I forget?
Oh, I'm
something?
sorry, no, my bad. I'm looking at something else.
Okay,
Sorry.
so would you like to move? For the
Sure.
consent?
All right.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Second,
I can second.
thanks, Satish. Roll call vote.
Trustee Leon.
Aye.
Trustee Manhattan.
Aye.
Trustee Chow.
Aye.
Trustee Lu.
Aye.
Trustee Vogel.
Aye. Board
Shortest
active,
consent. Shortest consent.
shortest consent we've ever had, I think, in a lot of years. Okay, board activity and committee reports. Anybody have something to report? Ava?
This past Monday in the morning, I went to Stockmeyer and checked out the Central Kitchen and what was the prep that went into it, and what they were delivering and prepping. So it was good to see that and how much space they have and
How little space.
how little space that they have, and that it was great seeing the employees working, and I can't believe that little bit of space provides so much of the lunches to all of our schools, and that realizing that there's a huge restriction of space if we want to move to more scratch-made food for our students. But it was really good. For those who haven't gone to check out how they're doing in the mornings, I did it before I had to go to work. And it was a great opportunity. You know, you dawn on a netting and you get to check out the facilities and see parts of our district that we're serving food to thousands of kids in our district.
I'm headed for Stockholm in 2 weeks. Is there a time of day you recommend that I go?
Well, they're prepping the food. They usually all their deliveries go out actually before 7. I got there around 7, and they were prepping things for lunch, or they actually do everything the same day to maintain the freshness. So it was amazing how much work our staff does to make sure the fruit and vegetables, that there's a lot of prep that goes into it, and they do that super early in the morning so that kids get it fresh same day.
Any other things to share? Jerry?
Yeah, I'll just share. Phyllis and I just coincidentally both attended the Budget Advisory Committee as well as the quarterly meeting with the union presidents. So for the Budget Advisory, the topic was mainly around the actual. So we looked at the previous board meeting and then looking at the adopted budget. There was actually a lot more information because it was able to go into a lot more detail. So I wonder, Chris, maybe some of that information could be shared with the other board members because we had 2 hours to really get into that. And so also at the budget advisory, there were leadership from all 3 unions. So we were able to talk to them as well as with the union president meetings. And so the main takeaways for me, and Phyllis, I'll let you we haven't talked about this, so I don't know what it's going to say, but my takeaway was, I think some of the things that were brought up, one is around the hiring freeze that's in place right now. And sort of some concerns about how that may be impacting students and how perhaps the need to hire sort of folks from the outside to augment staff because of the contract freeze. Financially, how does that work out? So that was one issue that was brought up. And another one that was brought up both with the presidents as well with the union leadership was around basically opportunities for just optimizing processes. There are some processes that are individual at each school, but perhaps they don't need to be. that make it easier for their experience and the staff and all that. So those are, I think, the two main topics that I took away. So
I think you did a masterful job. That was great. So in addition to those, I did the staff board office hours. Nobody showed up. And I did the community board office hour with Sylvia, and we had 3 or 4 people. Yeah. So we are continuing to do board office hours. I think it's important that we have that opportunity for people to join us if they choose to. So that's an ongoing thing that we're doing. Okay, so agenda setting. Does anybody have anything for future agenda?
I have 2 items I'd like to request. One is related to board policy 6145 around extracurricular activities. So today we have, extracurricular clubs that are running classrooms. We have clubs that are essentially run by almost like standalone nonprofits, and they just kind of go off and do their own thing. I'd like to maybe get an update on sort of the state of these different ways of offering extracurricular to students. I'd like to, and just how accessible they are to all students. I probably would like that to be a board presentation, but if it's simple enough, a Friday memo would be fine also. So that's request number 1. Request number 2 is I've been hearing a lot about this board policy 6144 around controversial issues. And so I think it'd be good for both the board and the community to get a better understanding of what that is. So I'm requesting a staff briefing on that. Thank you.
And you stole mine. I was going to ask for 6144 as well, that we bring that policy forward. Yeah. Stacey, you, Sylvia.
You.
So I was also going to ask for that as well. So I'm glad we're all in accord. In addition to that, I think I would like to have a presentation or a study session on LGBTQ safety and what the concerns are within for students. I like the idea of maybe having it come from the county, whatever that is, and I'll let staff decide what that will be, either a presentation or a study session, however that works. Doesn't have to be immediately, depending on what's going on with our calendar, but I would like to have that at some point.
Anybody else have an agenda item?
One, Jerry, 16144.
Oh, 61. Anything else, Satish?
No.
Ava?
Oh, okay. 2 items. One, before I forget, when we talked about special education in terms of looking at the numbers within our special education services that we provide to students, not just they're all inclusive of the different kinds, and seeing how those numbers are throughout the schools. If one school I've heard, and I just want to look at the numbers for McAuliffe, that has more of the kids who are getting resources. They may not have special day classes much there, but there is a higher amount of students.
Point of order.
Yes.
We shouldn't discuss this at this
time. No. Oh, well, I'm just putting that on,
agenda,
trying to explain that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not trying to have a discussion. Right. And then I'm going to do the +1 with Sylvia and having a study session on LGBTQ rights and reviewing some of the ed code that that we have at the state level. Okay.
All right. Anything else?
I have just one. I will be putting on to the next agenda. We are going to need change our board advance date in January. As thoroughly as we looked at the calendar, there is a conflict with that date. So I'll be sharing out some possible changes to that as well, but just wanted to give you a heads up on that as well.
And I neglected to call on you for board activity. Is there anything you'd like to share? No. Okay. So at this point, we want to go back to public comment on the items that are not on the agenda. So Erin, would you get that started for us?
Excuse me, should we check for public comments for closed session? Or am I looking at the wrong agenda again?
No, I think we are going to do public comment for closed session after we continue the public comment from the beginning of the meeting, if that's okay with everybody.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you all who are here for your patience. And we're looking forward to hearing from the rest of the public comments.
Our first speaker is Laura Compton.
Our schools must be safe and inclusive places for all students, staff, and faculty. Board members, it is your responsibility to ensure that every whole child is fully and completely welcomed. It is your duty to ensure that all employees are free from harassment based on their constitutionally protected class memberships. California Education Code Section 202 assigns LEAs an affirmative obligation to combat bias against pupils within their schools. Yesterday was the 1-year anniversary of that law. How are you affirmatively combating bias within our district? Perhaps it includes some of the professional development that we have been attending. We spent many hours the past week focusing on plans to help our students become inclusive collaborators, global communicators, and critical thinkers. To teach our children to include others, we must teach them about others. We need the mirrors and windows of high-quality inclusive literature and art to teach inclusivity. We need to know who the hidden figures are in order to include their contributions. We need the sliding glass doors of accurate history to become gateways to collaborative problem solving and better futures. Superintendent Yao, board members, we cannot create inclusive collaborators if we are excluding some of our learners' portraits from our walls. Education code says accurate inclusive education is essential to ensure the education success of all pupils, and that restricting access to classroom and library materials because of who they feature or because of who wrote them constitutes censorship, and excluding topics related to race, ethnicity, gender, or sexual orientation violates California law and policy. Board members, we call on you to build us the safe schools that we all need. We must practice what we preach.
Thank you, Laura. The next speaker is Noelle Bondoc.
Good evening, everyone. As a special education teacher at CUSD, my classroom is a welcoming space for all students and staff, but we need more than individual efforts. We demand that CUSD make a public statement affirming their support for all LGBTQ students and staff, ensuring that every school and classroom is a welcoming environment where everyone feels protected and free to be themselves. Recent events have highlighted the urgent need for the district to stand up against hateful rhetoric. This discourse not only impacts targeted individuals, but also creates fear for all LGBT individuals in our community. The stakes are high. Across the U.S., many LGBTQ students and staff face harassment and significant mental health challenges, including an increased risk of suicide. This emphasizes the critical need for a culture of support. It is hypocritical to teach kindness, acceptance, and anti-bullying to students while allowing discrimination against staff members to persist. We want to send a message to the district. They must protect all students and teachers from hateful rhetoric and make CUSD a safe space where our entire community can thrive, regardless of race, class, nationality, gender identity, or religion. CUSD must take a stand and ensure that everyone is valued and protected. Now is the time for action. Silence and vague messaging is not enough. We need a clear, unwavering statement from all the district that CUSD is and always will be a place of safety, respect, and inclusion for all. Thank you.
The next speaker is Sophie Skarnewman.
Hello, board members. My name is Sophie Skarnewman, and I speak to you as the CUSD alumna, a current CUSD parent of a second grader at McAuliffe Elementary. And I am also the really proud sister of the non-binary teacher who has been the victim of many of the attacks you have heard here tonight. Tonight, a group of people who package prejudice and discrimination as something we should do to protect our children are trying to manipulate our community. This type of rhetoric is an insult to all of our intelligence. Our children are indeed precious. They are also curious, unique, and impressionable. So what impression do we want to give them? How do we want our schools to respond to and support our children? I hope that we all on some level agree that we want our children to be seen, heard, and loved unconditionally. We want it no matter their personality, no matter their appearance, no matter their gender. I want that for our teachers too. There are members of our CUSD community who say that inclusive classrooms and anti-racism education hurt our children. I ask, how? How on earth does it hurt our children to teach them that we can all be different and still be valued and worthy of love? I also want to be clear that teaching children about the history of racism and oppression is not a new or cutting edge or controversial thing to do. It was in a CUSD school in second grade at Christa McAuliffe 25 years ago that I first learned about the history of slavery in the United States, Jim Crow, and the Civil Rights Movement. It was then that I became an activist, that I became the person who's standing here in front of you tonight, asking each of you and all of you to stand beside me and my family on the right side of history. Everyone is welcome.
Thank you, Sophie.
The next speaker is JB Round.
Dear board member and teachers and staffs and parents, I'm Dr. JB. Today I'm a father of two, like a 4 years old and 6 years old son attending Eton Elementary School. And I was like very proud to be the school and also dedicate or donate to the school a lot also. And yesterday when I went home, and my younger son, he was so happy to get his first school book. Usually we are read books to them. When I open it, then it's all promotion of like a transgender or those. I'm not against the transgenders, but those concepts are too early for 4 years old. It's a TK. Please, do you guys want your 4 years old kids, even if he doesn't know what boy or girls, but you are teaching them what's like a transgender or third or maybe that's too complicated. Just leave the kids to be kids. I did a survey across my all around. No, everyone says it's too early. So I urge the board member and the teachers and all, please examine all the materials that's in the school. Please also get the parents' consent for some those inappropriate materials, because school is for to educate the kids, and the parents and kids are the customer, right? So you need to listen to the parents' the voice, not only a certain group for their agenda. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, JB.
The next speaker is Rob Zimmerman.
Good evening. Thank you for your time. I'm a parent of 2 children in CUSD, and I am afraid for the safety of LGBTQ students in this district. I've listened to the relatively few voices in this room protesting inclusion and to answer their concerns about age appropriateness. My non-binary child wrote me a note when they were just 7 saying, "Daddy, I want to be a boy." And now they are on their 3rd CUSD school due to consistent misgendering by the adults and the failure to support an inclusive environment and prevent bullying. So I know that my child was struggling from before they were 7, trying to make sense. So this idea that 4-year-olds are too young, they're not too young. They understand what boys and girls are. Don't insult our children. They are smart and they are capable. So I want to take a second to thank the tireless efforts of the teachers in this district who have honored my child's gender and their whole self. If you heed any of the things I have to say tonight, heed this. An American Academy of Pediatrics study showed that while 14% of adolescents reported attempting suicide, 50.8% of trans boys reported attempting suicide. 41.8% of non-binary children reported attempting suicide, and only 10% of cis boys reported attempting suicide. This is deadly serious. Don't listen to the fascists in this room and instead redouble your efforts to support LGBTQ students like my child. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Lynn Hansen.
My name is Lynn Hansen, and I'm a local who is a CUSD alumna. I'm also a trans woman who grew up in a Mormon family. I tried to tell my father who I was twice during elementary school, at 4 and again at 6, but his response was to ignore me and then scare and shame me into the closet when I persisted. The church I grew up in also taught that people like me are broken inside and need to be fixed. I tried my hardest to just conform, but I am a living testament to the fact that simply does not work. It only caused years of lost opportunities, made me feel suicidal during puberty and middle school, and left me with trauma and CPTSD. Providing a safe and inclusive environment is essential for transgender students because many do not have that kind of environment when they are away from school. Transgender students deserve the chance to discover themselves, hold on to who they are, and be valued exactly as they are. I am a Christian, and the Jesus who I tried to follow lived and died in defiance of the dogmatism, hypocrisy, and corruption that interferes with people loving one another and living in harmony. Living in harmony is like being in an orchestra. Different people with different skills and talents come together to create something that is beautiful because of those differences. A group of musicians where every instrument is the same would be closer to a dull, soulless unity than a harmonious whole. I pray that we may all have the wisdom to discern between the two. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Marcia Dislin.
So my name is Marcia Dislin. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a proud alumni parent of Dilworth Elementary and Miller Middle. I'm a proud mom of 3 daughters, 2 of who are queer. And I'm proud of the diversity that Cupertino Union School District values and welcomes. I'm also a proud member of Sunnyvale Presbyterian Church, where we welcome, celebrate, and just welcome queer people into the life ministry and witness of our church and our society. It's all together, schools, church, society, all that. I am disappointed in the hate speech that I have heard is happening on CSUD school campuses. Aren't we adults supposed to be the models of the values we want our kids to learn? On the Dilworth website, the learning experience includes valuing and respecting diversity, a focus on kindness, compassion, and a sense of belonging. The teachers that CUST employs are exceptional teachers. You can see them all right here. And some of them with 30 plus years of experience, and some are just starting their teaching careers. When my daughters attended the schools, they were taught by some amazing teachers. Their teachers were diverse in every manner possible. Different ethnicities, male, female, trans, non-binary, young, old, married, single. And I didn't ask if they had a partner, if their partner was the same sex as they were. None of that mattered. What mattered was they were qualified to teach, period. Their life outside of school was not the topic of classroom conversations. Our schools need to be safe spaces where students can learn to the best of their abilities, and teachers are allowed to teach our children using the best strategies. There's no room for hate speech at any of our CSU schools.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Wenwen Zhao. Go ahead, Wenwen.
Hello. I'm a Dilworth parent at room 22. I'm here to express my concern about what I see and about the contents in the TK classroom. The teacher has been consistently highlighting one aspect of their personal identity through posters, books, and other materials, like a simple fact that dresses are always hung up, but suits are put in the bin. We, as parents, are not anti-LGBTQ, and we are not attacking any teachers here. Our concern is that this gender-related content is not age-appropriate for TK students. This content does not align with the California PTKLF guidelines, and this behavior of promoting personal views in the classroom is a violation of the CUSD Employee Code of Conduct. Moreover, this emphasis on a single perspective and lack of adherence to the approved curriculum risk underdetermining the district's educational goals and the trust between parents and school. If this continues, we may see a loss of trust, fewer students, and a reduced support for the school funding. We urge the school to provide better oversight and ensure the classroom content is suitable for the development stage of our children and respect the value of the entire school community. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Teresa Lau. Teresa, if you're joining virtually, please raise your hand. Go ahead, Teresa.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, good evening, everyone. Superintendent Yao, honorable board members and community members. My name is Teresa, and tonight I'm talking about safety in the play yard. My son is a 5-year-old autistic boy. He's a new student in STC class at Collins. Collins Elementary School does not provide enough coverage for safer play spaces. Only the play structure has limited padded floor mat underneath, and outside of the structure is all asphalt and concrete. There's no grass, no mulch around. And there are a lot of thorny rose plants and bushes. They're at close proximity of the kinder classrooms and play yard and throughout the school, which children frequently run into and easily get injured. Our disabled children frequently come home with injuries and are often blamed for their wounds by staff. Our principal advised that a bond needs to be allocated and moved forward for any change in play yard to take place. Hence, we, the parents, are seeking help from the board for improvements for a safer play yard and appropriate instructional supports from school staffs inside and outside of the classroom. Thank you so much for considering.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Kathy Yu. Kathy, if you're joining virtually, please raise your hand. I do not see Kathy. Our next speaker is Amanda Hu. Amanda, if you're joining virtually, please raise your hand. Go ahead, Amanda.
Good evening, board members. As a CUSD parent, I recently reviewed the district's response to a concern regarding the "We're Free to Be" poster in a Deal with TK classroom. This poster introduces advanced gender concepts like Z3D, which the district has referred to as simply a declaration aimed at promoting inclusivity. I respectfully disagree with this characterization. According to the 8th area's legal reference, classroom displays such as posters and decorations are considered a form of teacher speech. While CUSD has firmly clarified that gender identity is not part of the TK curriculum, this poster, considered as a form of teacher speech, introduces content that beyond what is developmentally appropriate for this age group and deviates from district's vetted curriculum. There are many other ways to teach inclusivity that align with what is suitable for young children. Books celebrating cultural, racial, and physical difference, for example, are both age-appropriate and consistent with California preschool transitional kindergarten learning foundations, which emphasize diversity in culture, language, and abilities, not only on gender. Transitional, for all self-identity learning examples outlined in PTKRF, gender itself is never shown as alone as an emphasis for this topic. As a parent, I fully support district's effort to support an LGBTQ group. While inside classroom, my simple ask is, please stick to the curriculum and do not misinterpret educational goal outlined in California PTKRF. Let's ensure that the materials used in our classrooms reflect the curriculum and are developmentally appropriate for our youngest learners. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
The next speaker is Anna Reed. Anna.
Hello, board. Thank you for letting us continue to speak this evening. On the realm of treating teachers as professionals, I would first like to thank everyone for the opportunity to have a flexible workspace during the minimum days at the middle school tomorrow. As a teacher that has to go out and acquire instructional materials regularly on my personal time, I appreciate these few days a year that I can have time to do my running around on the clock. With that said, I do take issue with the form that was sent out requiring several minutes to complete to request permission to have a flexible workspace. I can understand questions about tech if you plan to use tech, but they should not be required questions to answer. Also, the information asking about the health and safety of our home workspace and status of our most recent observations and evaluations didn't seem appropriate to send out to all staff requesting to work from home. I don't know who has access to this full form, and I don't feel comfortable adding my phone number and other very personal information to yet another district data bank, especially since things like using my phone number to sign up for apps such as Parent Square without my permission have occurred in the past. Many of us read the form and immediately felt like it was questioning our professionalism, particularly since we all spent over a year working from home during the pandemic without having to justify or validate our workspaces and use of time. If I'm at the store sourcing supplies, I don't want to be available via email or chat. Just as if I decide to stay in my room to work on grades or room prep, I would also want that time to be uninterrupted. The purpose of the minimum days was to allow us time as professionals to get things done. And this form makes it feel like our decision-making abilities aren't being respected.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Jessie Ray. Jessie, if you're joining virtually, please raise your hand. Jessie, I'm having trouble identifying you by your name on the screen. Jessie, if you could please raise your hand. Go ahead, Jessie.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. Dear Superintendent Yao, board members, teachers and parents and everyone, thank you very much for letting me make a public comment. I'm a CUSD parent and a mother of a 4-year-old. I'm not against any community. I love you all. Based on my personal experience and my understanding over the communication with the school principal and the CUSD staffs, I urge Delaware and our school district to ensure that all classroom materials are age appropriate, including TK. Additionally, I urge Delaware and the CUSD school provide parents with transparent information and their opt-out rights regarding sensitive contents. This is crucial to rebuild the trust between parents and the school. I understand that the TK program is new to our district, so I encourage a thoughtful approach in selecting age-appropriate materials for our children. Please also implement regular reviews of all classroom materials to ensure they align with what is developmental suitable for TK students. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Christina Everhart.
So my name is Christina Everhart, and I'm a teacher at a middle school. I talk much better in front of little kids than I do in front of big kids. Sorry about that. My pronouns are she, her. I would like to take this time to remind the board of the resources that can be found on the California Department of Education website for health and other curriculums. There is a section regarding elementary educator resources for LGBTQ+ students. One of the resources found in that section reminds us, quote, schools that actively work to welcome and affirm LGBTQ+ students, families, and staff improve the school climate for the whole school community. When students feel safe and affirmed, they can thrive both academically and socially, end quote. The idea that it is inappropriate to create these safe and affirming spaces for all students because of age is not, it is discredited by research, and it is against the law in the state of California. I also wish to remind the board that there are many state laws that protect the education of our LGBTQ students, and that we must remember to abide by these laws. I want to thank you for helping to provide educational environments that support all students. And please, there's been a lot of misstatements that aren't correct. In middle school, you are not allowed to opt out of the gender identity lesson in human growth and development. I don't know about 5th grade, but you're not allowed to. So thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Lorna High. Lorna, if you're joining virtually, please raise your hand. I do not see Lorna. The next speaker is Sagar Joshi. Sagar, if you are joining virtually, please raise your hand. I do not see Sagar. The next speaker is Amani Hamed. Amani, if you are joining virtually, please raise your hand. I do not see Amani. The next speaker is Kristen Van Sickle.
Hi, thank you for having us here today. Superintendent Yao and Board of Education, thank you. My name is Kristen Van Sickle, and I am a school librarian media technician. And I am reading this letter on behalf of Grammy and Papa. As a grandparent, this is from them. As a grandparent of a former CUSD student who is a member of the LGBTQ community and parents of a CUSD teacher, my husband and I, Rodolfo and Kathy Zambrano, wish for the CUSD to remain a great learning experience for all races, backgrounds, and genders. A place for all students and teachers to be safe, the freedom to be themselves, and to be kind to all. We want students and teachers to have a wonderful learning and growing experience. Please do everything in your power to protect our students, our teachers, our books, and learning abilities from harmful efforts to sow division at our schools. Teachers and all students must feel safe and accepted to grow, to be kind, intelligent, open-minded human beings. These skills, knowledge, and abilities will carry them through life. Isn't this what education should be? Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Eduardo Velarde. Go ahead, Eduardo.
Hello, my name is Eduardo Valladares. I'm a teacher and parent And basically what really what I want to talk about is I'm hearing a lot of things, right? In terms of a lot of our parents being concerned of what's going on in Delworth in room 22. And this is a turning point in our history right now. A turning point to include more people. We're losing people's lives. We're losing our children. And what I'm hearing is a lot of fear, right? A lot of fear on both sides in terms of what we see and what we hear. And I understand, as you know, being part of a immigrant family, that you already have gone through it already enough marginalization, and to accept that your child might be LGBTQ, that's something that a TK teacher is not going to make your child LGBTQ plus. Like, there's already enough to go with that. That's part of their identity. That's who they are, and we have to love and accept in who they are. And I thank you so much again for this opportunity for all of us to speak and live in a democracy where we could talk about all these things. But I think I understand like every single side of what everyone has said. And, I understand that we're going to, go into the legal language, but the one thing that we're really talking about is about loving our children. And we have to learn how to accept them and learn that, regardless of what they're going to hear, they're going to be who they are. And that is their identity. And we want to love them, and we want to be there with them. And we want to show that they can love other people that are not like them, and I think that's something that we have to think about. The more we're creating is more allies. When we have from TK all the way to high school, when we have kids understanding that people are different, it's a beautiful thing. Thank you so much.
The next speaker is Audrey Yu. Audrey, if you're joining virtually, please raise your hand. I do not see Audrey. Our next speaker is Emma Valentine.
Hello, my name is Emma Valentine, and I wanted to come here and say that I read over the petition that is, I don't know if it's already been sent to you or not, that's regarding the BP 6144, and I fully disagree with it. And I just wanted to say my part that whatever you guys decide to do, because you're the ones who are making that choice, that like you have to make a choice that's about the safety and respect for our students. And if you're supporting legislation, if you're supporting this petition, it's putting so many people at risk, both students and staff and teachers. And I know that's not what anybody wants, but that's what's going to happen if this petition to you guys goes through. It's going to hurt people. And we don't want that. We don't want that. We have to have safety and to teach respect, especially at a young age. And I wanted to point out too that like there's been a lot of specifically TK parents that have come here that have been virtually talking about how it's too soon, it's too young. And I think that perception is wrong. My daughter is at the age of like 4, when she was in TK, she knew about this. The younger she started learning about like non-binary and pronouns, that the easier it is for her to now interact with people like that and respect them and show that respect to people. And that's what I want my daughter to be, is a respectful, kind person that accepts people, that has diversity. And if teaching them young it's not too soon. It really isn't too soon. And to say that is, I think it comes from a place of fear for parents that they did not have to deal with these issues or these ideas until they were much older. So maybe that's why parents feel that it is too soon for their children, because they did not have to talk or think about these things until they were much older. But I just want to say, as a parent who has a daughter, one of her nannies is non-binary and understands pronouns and understands non-binary issues. And I think that that's just so beautiful. So I really don't think it's too early to start that. Thank you.
The next speaker is Evelyn Cervantes. Evelyn, if you're joining virtually, please raise your hand. I do not see Evelyn. Our next speaker is Doug Coons.
Good evening, Madam President, Superintendent Yao, and members of the board.
My name is Doug Kunz, and I'm a candidate for the CUSD board. I'm speaking tonight about the district's implementation of its priority to create a sense of belonging for all students and staff. This means supporting people who have different life circumstances than ourselves. In Project Cornerstone, we teach our kids to be upstanders, not bystanders, and especially when they see somebody being singled out for being different. And I seek to apply that lesson by speaking tonight. The American Academy of Pediatrics says the following: that children develop a sense of their own gender identity between ages 2 and 4, that LGBT kids who live in supportive environments have far better life outcomes than those who do not, and that learning about gender identity does not change a child's gender identity. I want all kids who attend our schools to thrive, and that means celebrating all of our kids. My kids do not need assistive devices for walking, but I want them to see images of students and adults who do in their books and on their classroom walls. My kids are not Hispanic, and yet I support them joining in celebrations of Hispanic Heritage Month. My kids are not Chinese American, and yet I support them in celebrating the Lunar New Year. In the same way, I hope that the district community as a whole can get behind celebrating our LGBT kids and the teachers who support them. The evidence is overwhelming that all kids do better in more inclusive environments, and it's possible to do so in a culturally sensitive manner. So supporting trans, non-binary, and gender-diverse students paves the path to what we all agree that we want, which is positive educational outcomes for all of our kids. Thank you.
Then the next speaker is Feng Yi.
So, good evening. So my name is Feng. I've been a resident CUSD for 20 years, 20 years, and my kid actually just went to college. So I'm way beyond this TK thing. But I heard my home elementary school Eden, and I saw this the book. So I feel obliged to be here tonight to against this group of people. But actually, I don't think we are against each other. We have a common goal that CUSD to be more inclusive and more respectful for each other. For my own child, he made a lot of LGBT kids, LGBT friends in Lawson, and I came personally to know with them and say, go trick and treat with all the rainbow colors. I have saw all these kids, right? So I think the key thing here is that it should be wider age appropriate, right? Is TK is someone saying that TK is known already, right? Someone said, but for our parents, we don't think so, right? So, and for some sad stories here that I hear, I feel really sorry for you, for yourself or for your relatives, but I don't know, like. In the TK time, you already feel that confusing? I don't think so, because you don't even remember, like when you're a little small, right? So someone saying that, okay, you teach them, you don't change them, but it will create confusing, right? I'm a boy, I'm a girl, what am I, right? So it's a lot of confusing. It's too early. The second thing, I think a teacher should not indoctrinate his own agenda to the teaching material, right? He should be follow what's the teaching guidelines, right? And then last, I want to say to the body that this decision is college, and you need to be selfless. You make the decision, you need a courage. You don't obey to this like outside pressure, right? So you don't destroy the district on your hand. That's all.
The next speaker is Min Yin. Min, if you're joining virtually, please raise your hand. Go ahead, Min. Min, go ahead and unmute.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you. I was in the room, but I need to go to pick up my son, so I have to leave and join virtually. So I haven't heard the whole thing, but from what I heard a lot of opinion. So I think we should go back to the fact. So the fact is, from what I understand, this TK classroom 22 consistently since last year and same as this year, 20 to 30 students drops off after the first 2 weeks of the lecture. So I think that's something the board obligated to look into. So why? I guess we have a whole boardroom of teacher. Ask yourself, every teacher, if you have 20 to 30% of your students drop off the first 2 weeks of your class, how do you feel? How do you feel if you have a colleague have such kind high drop off rate? Is that really what we want? We are pushing people away. You are talking about inclusive, but in reality, you are pushing people away. This is not a kind, nurture, helpful environment you guys are talking about. Ask about yourself. Look at the numbers. I urge the board as well as the Delaware principal to look into that. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Antonio Soccer. Antonio, if you're joining virtually, please raise your hand. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. I just want to say a couple things, if you don't mind. I love everyone and I respect everyone, and I teach my kids to love and respect everyone around them, irrelevant of the differences. What I'm asking today is what my kids are being taught at school and having full visibility of what my kids are being taught. And then it is my choice if I want to teach them that or if I want to keep them at school, at home without learning, or teach them something else. It is not for anyone to decide what I want to teach my kids. It is for me to decide what I want to teach my kids. Please, they ask is for it to be clear. What is the plan to teach my kids? That's what I want to know so I can make my own decision for my family. I teach my 4-year-old about Santa. I'm not willing to teach him about things that don't belong, in my opinion, to his age. I'm okay for him to learn about it in a few more years, but not today. When he still believes in Santa, I don't want him to learn about other things. He still belongs in Santa world and in Bunny and all of the other virtual things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final speaker is Tracy Huang. Tracy, if you could please raise your hand if you're joining virtually. Go ahead, Tracy.
Hello, everyone. I'm CUSD parent, and we have a teacher and also classmates as LGBT or transgender, and we are totally be very happy, get along very well with each other. And we, as you know, we also have the student as LGBT, so they also need the teacher to provide them to do the same thing as we need, right? We come here also need education, and also we get along very well. We teach our kids to respect each other. So we are here to ask to provide open curriculums and also age appropriate. Okay, and also, so I think this is not all needed, not only for the non-LGBT parents or students, but also needed for LGBT students and transgenders. So respect all of the students. We need open curriculums. Thanks.
Thank you.
That was our final speaker.
Okay. I want to thank everyone here for sticking with us, making your comments. And what I appreciated tonight is we heard a lot of differing opinions tonight, many passionately. And I appreciate the respect that you showed every single speaker tonight. So congratulations to you, and thank you for sharing all this information with us. And I think the board agrees. Shake your head. Yes, you agree. Okay. Thank you so much. Next, we have a public comment on closed session. Do we have any public comments, Erin?
No, we do not.
Okay, then with that, I am going to adjourn to closed session.